Hello, gamers. You're listening to the Short Pause Gaming Podcast. This is episode number 149. And welcome back to another edition of the Short Pause Gaming Podcast. I'm Brent Felsing, and joining me tonight, Bender Holt, Ben Boyce. Gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of this fine podcast. We're without Frankie Ayler, but hopefully just one more week. Hopefully Frankie will be making his return next week. But until then, it's just us three. Gentlemen, how you doing tonight?
Doing all right. Sore as hell.
Oh, why are you sore, buddy?
Because I had to dig us out of that snowstorm this morning. Yeah, we got, I don't know, must have been 10 inches here.
Oh.
So, yeah, it took me a good 3 hours to shovel my driveway this morning. So that was fun. And at my age, don't bounce back from that like I used to. So, like, my back hurts and just aching all over.
You know, I'm kind of confused here because you live in Michigan as well, right? We both live in Michigan. We know what happens between December and March. Bender, if you go to the bathroom to take a dump, you make sure you have toilet paper, right? It's a necessity. Boys, there's these things. They're called snowblowers. You can go to any store, just about any hardware store, and buy this contraption. You put gas in it. It's kind of like the opposite of a lawnmower. You put gas in it, you pull it, and you start it, and you go right up and down your driveway, and it blows snow into your yard, so you don't have to shovel for 3 hours.
What manner of witchcraft is this?
I don't know, man. You're like you said, you're old now, and this is just something that you need to make an investment in. It'll make life a lot easier for you.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to spend the $500 or $600 to buy a snowblower just for like once or twice a year that I'll need to use it.
But you'll go out and buy a $200 collector's edition and not play the game at all. Man, that is logic. Logic.
That's how I live my life, man. Sound logic.
I'm just confused, but I'll let it go.
I am as well.
Better, how's things on your end, man? Did you get any of this heavy snow?
No, we haven't gotten any snow. There's a few flakes today. It was cold today, but no, we haven't really gotten any snow this year.
Man, that's crazy, dude. I thought Wyoming got its fair share of snow. So.
It does. They get a lot of snow. You just must live in a good part.
It's Nebraska, boys.
Oh, my fault.
That Oklahoma.
Well, that's good, man. I'm glad you didn't get any snow. We didn't get it too bad up here, boys. We probably got about, I think total was about 5 inches. From the Thursday night until today. And
gotcha.
Yeah, man, I went out there and just plowed my driveway. It took me 10 minutes.
Sweet.
10 minutes. No sore body aches or anything, man. But that's why I'm also fat. I don't do shoveling, which I probably should do. It's good for cardio, good for your heart.
Got my workout in today.
Well, that's good, man. That's why you're sexy. Let's get into what we've been playing this week. Boys, let's start with you. We'll start with the Monday night Indie Spotlight that we did this week. Talk to me, man. Tell me about Bleed 2, man.
Bleed 2 is awesome. Like, really, really good. I had a ton of fun with that game. It's a short game, just like Bleed 1. So you can sit down, you can beat it in an hour, just like Bleed 1. It's a one-sitting game, but where the Bleed games like get you and where they get their longevity or their replayability comes in going back into these stages and trying to get like the S ranks and the triple S ranks and trying to master your craft in this game. It's one of these games that when you figure out how to play Bleed, it's if you're unfamiliar with Bleed, it's a fast-paced action platforming shooter. It has like a twin stick control mechanism, but it has like bullet time where you can slow down time. In this one, they actually added a projectile reflect, which is cool. It was a nice addition to the gameplay. Really added this subtle layer of strategy to the proceedings as well, because you can. When enemies shoot you with yellow bullets, you can't reflect those, but the pink ones you can. So you got to be on the lookout for that. And when you see those openings, you can reflect the pink projectiles back towards the enemies. So I like that they added that. But yeah, this is a game that's like it's almost like a ballet in motion. When you watch somebody that knows how to play Bleed, and you watch them just just beautifully like fly through one of these stages, and they're like activating bullet time, and they're flipping around, and they're shooting enemies, and they're triple jumping all over the place. It's really, really cool to watch. And that's kind of what you're striving for as you play Bleed. You want to get to that point where you can take one of your friends and be like, hey man, sit down and watch me play this level, and then you just kind of like beautifully like dance your way around this level, and it's a really cool feeling when you master that. So but outside of the sitting down and trying to master the game, the actual just basic gameplay is really, really fun. I love the just the pace at which you play this game, and they've added some things to this one to make it even faster and even more action packed than the first Bleed. It's like I said, the projectile reflection, the triple jump that you can control and maneuver through the stages is a lot of fun, and it just sets you up for these really cool moments when you're playing the game where you're dodging bullets and stopping time, and it's just really, really cool to play something like this in like an 8-bit, 16-bit platformer setting. So I thought Bleed 2 was a ton of fun, even better than the first one. The soundtrack for that game is unreal, man. Seriously, Bleed 2 has one of the best soundtracks I've heard in recent memory. It's excellent. It's not very long, because it's not a long game. But the tracks that are included there are just wicked, man. Just wailing guitar solos, and it's just this high octane soundtrack that really gets you amped to like play through these levels. So if you are at all a fan of action platforming games, shooting platformers, I definitely recommend that you give Bleed 2 a go. Like I said, you have to know what to expect going in, so you have to understand this is a game that takes an hour to beat. Once you do that, that's it. There's other modes and stuff too, and that adds to the replayability as well. There's an arcade mode, there's like an endless mode, so there's different modes you can get into as well that kind of flesh out the experience. But the true Bleed experience is going in there and try to master your craft in these levels. So I had a ton of fun with Bleed on the Spotlight, man. It's like I said, highly recommended game. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, definitely give that one a go. It's and get the soundtrack too. Seriously, it's awesome.
I actually did pick up the soundtrack earlier this week. It was on Bandcamp right now. You can grab it for, I think it's like $6, dude. Like really cheap. But it's an excellent soundtrack. And, I caught the stream late and then I watched it the next day. That game looks really, really fun. And I love that parry system they've got now. Like you mentioned, like this reflecting ability to knock back enemy projectiles. That looks really, really good. So I actually picked up Bleed too. I actually grabbed a copy this week. And I'll be hopping in there at some point to play it, but I thought that game looked totally rad.
Yeah, it's really, really fun, man. I'm looking forward to going back in there and trying to like perfect my skills a little bit, try and get some S ranks, some of these levels, and see how I can progress along. It's tough though. It gets hard when you ramp up the difficulty in this game too. I played through the game on normal. There's multiple difficulty settings as well, so as tough as you want to make this game, you can make it in the. If you're a trophy hunter or an achievement hunter with Bleed 2, good luck, man. There's some tough ones in there.
Oh boy! All right, yeah. I like that. I like a good challenge. What else did you play this week, dude?
Outside of that, just Destiny 2. It's the only thing I was able to get into. I wanted to start Shadow of the Colossus, just couldn't find a good block of time. I didn't want to sit down and play it for 10 minutes or anything like that. So like when I sit down to play that game, I want to sit down and spend some hours with it. But we got in, played some Destiny 2, played the Nightfall. Just missed the 5-minute achievement in the Nightfall there. But hopefully we can get in there and give it another whirl. But had a lot of fun doing the Nightfall with you guys. Love getting in there and playing Destiny with you.
Yeah, it was a really good time. Benner, what'd you think of that Nightfall, man, when we get up to the final platform and we just kept dying over and over and over again?
God, yeah. That Nightfall was the first one I've felt like, oh, we could actually maybe do the thing with 5 minutes left, because you can run through the whole thing until you get to the end and fight the final boss. For the most part, you can just run through most of it.
Yep.
So yeah, I thought we were going to be able to do it, but man, that final boss encounter, there's so many enemies that spawn in that there's very little cover. So you can't hide anywhere. You're just going to get shot from all sides.
And it changes too. Like the cover is constantly disappearing and reappearing on you.
Yeah. So you spawn, and then like I would die in like 10 seconds after spawning. I couldn't go anywhere. That was very frustrating. So hopefully we'll be able to get back in there at some point and knock it out. But man, that was a rough go of it.
Yeah, it was incredibly brutal towards the end. Like you mentioned, we were able to get through it relatively quickly. We'd stumble here and there, but once you get, you drop the shielded minotaurs and progress forward. But man, we got to that last area, and I feel like I spent most of my time staying invisible, just trying to revive you guys, than I did actually getting shots on the enemy on the boss.
You probably did.
But it's again, that's just part of the excitement of doing the Nightfall time. That's why I like the time missions. I mean, the second time we did it, we were so close. And we got our rewards for completing it. We got all the Vanguard tokens and whatnot. And we were like, okay, let's go back and do it again. And we did it a couple more times. We did it, I think, 3 or 4 times that night. So we got a bunch of Vanguard tokens. We got our original payouts and all that jazz. But we kept grinding and kept trying. We just couldn't pull it off. But it came down to execution. It wasn't the fact that the timer was there. If we'd been executing properly, we would have easily gotten it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dude, that second time we were so close. We literally had the perfect run up to the boss. Just one of us, I think I died like a couple seconds before the 5-minute mark, and then we just couldn't get the necessary shots on the boss. We killed him a few seconds later.
Yeah.
It was so close. It was right there within our grasp. I think next time we get in there, like, we really need to focus more on the ads. I think that's where our downfall was. We tried to just kind of push them to the side, but there comes a point when there's just so many of them in there that one of us at least needs to do something to him. Maybe bring Stormcaller in there or something, try and clean some of that garbage out of there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We should all just save because I mean, I was never going to use my super on the boss. It's not going to help at all. So I was thinking maybe we just use supers on those ads every time. One guy uses his super. Like, I tether them all, we all kill them, and you guys get your orbs. Then we hold on for the next wave. Next guy drops his super because we should have enough orbs by then, enough kills. And then the next guy saves his super for the next group to get rid of them and then focus on the boss. It's probably a strategy we should have implemented early on.
Yeah. We should probably roll in there with some Masterworks guns too, so we can generate those orbs as we're shooting
with
enemies.
Precision shots. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we should, with a couple of tweaks to the strategy, I think we've got a good shot to do it.
And that right there is why I love Nightfalls, man. That's why I love the time elements, because it's all about strategy. If you remove the time element, you don't have to focus so much about strategy. You kind of just, okay, we got plenty of time. We'll just run through this thing at our own pace. You're kind of taking that strategy out. Obviously, there's still strategy involved, but it's a little bit more detailed. You have to follow a little bit more closely when it's timed, and that's why hopefully removing the time thing will just be a limited time thing. I know they're introducing a new scoring system. Maybe once in a while they'll bring back the time thing occasionally. I just really enjoy that element of the Nightfall mission. So we played Destiny 2. Now, Bender, we got to talk about Shadow of the Colossus. That came out last week. I know you were extremely excited for it. It's one of your favorite games of all time. I was really excited for it because I had never played it. But first, I want to talk to you about what you experienced jumping back into the game that you love so much and seeing it on the PlayStation 4 with this remake, this from the ground up by Bluepoint, man. Give me your thoughts on Shadow of the Colossus so far.
Yeah, it's pretty great so far. I mean, getting those nostalgic feelings from the first time I played it, and they did such a fantastic job remaking this game. It's one of the best looking games I've ever seen. They did such a great job just redoing the visuals. It looks beautiful, and yeah, just the gameplay is great. I've really enjoyed revisiting the world and finding the Colossi and taking them out and everything. I've only done the first 6 of them so far, so I'm not even halfway yet. But I just love the way they look. I mean, the music is as great as ever, but I mean, when you're climbing the Colossus, now you can see like the individual strands of fur and how it sways back and forth when they're trying to shake you off, and it just everything looks so crisp. It looks so really great. But yeah, I'm thrilled to get a chance to play this game again and see the new visuals, and I'm glad that people like you and Frankie and Ben are having a chance to play it again, play it for the first time. This is the definitive way to experience this game. It really is. Like, I've heard people asking online, like, should I go back and play the original before I play the remake? And I'm confident saying no, you don't necessarily need to. Mm-hmm. If you've never played the original, go ahead and play this one. This is the best way you're going to experience the game. And then if you want to go back for posterity's sake and just see what the original game looked like, you can do that. But man, they did such a great job with this. I'm really enjoying it so far. I definitely want to get in there and take out the rest of them and try it on hard mode, try the time trials. There's stuff to do even after you beat the game, and I might try to go for the platinum. It's going to take. I hear it takes quite a while to because you have to play through the game 3 or 4 times, I think, to get some of the trophies.
Wow.
But yeah, it's time that I'm willing to put in, eventually. But I'm loving it so far, and yeah, I think it's great. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it though, since you are playing it for the first time.
Yeah. So firing it up, I'm playing it on the PlayStation 4 Pro, and immediately went in, turned on performance mode, because that's how I wanted to see this game. You've got these this beautiful world, this realized world, and these just gigantic colossal beasts. And I'm like, I want to see this thing at 60 frames, see how it runs, because there was so much hype built up on that. So I turned off the lights, I turned up the audio, and I just kind of got lost in this game for a good 4 hours the first time. I mean, I got sucked into it, exploring this world, but the battles themselves are absolutely awesome. I mean, I wasn't sure what to expect going into it. I didn't expect it to be kind of like a puzzler in certain ways to figure out how to take down the Colossi. Some of them are very difficult. Like, it took me a while to figure out the 5th Colossus, the one that flies around. Figure out how to get aboard that thing, because you're where you're at located. It's very difficult to figure out how to get, not only bring the creature down, even though the game kind of explains it to you, it gives you hints after a while. That's how bad I was doing. I was like, what do I do with this thing? But it tells you, here, try this. So I tried it, but even when I did that, I was like, how am I supposed to get aboard this thing right now? And then I just, you eventually figured out. You're like, oh, okay, those aha moments are everywhere in this game. But just the battles themselves with the Colossi are just incredible. I mean, exhilarating. Like I mentioned, that 5th one where you're flying around on this beast, and it's maneuvering, it's trying to shake you at all times. You're hanging on to that R2 button like for dear life, like you were actually hanging on to the Colossus. It's very intense. It's very difficult to figure out what it's going to do to try to get you off of it. And you have to be prepared. You have to manage your stamina. It's a very intense situation when those battles begin, and I really, really dig that. Another thing I like about this game, the audio work. My gosh. When that first Colossus shows up and he's walking around, you feel like you are at the feet of a Colossus beast. It's incredible, especially with surround sound and the impacts when these things are moving around or when they're swinging their weapons at you. It gives you goosebumps. I mean, it really just it's an incredible experience hearing this game in action, seeing it in motion, and then not to mention the 60 frames. These creatures, these beasts, look awesome at 60 frames with their hair kind of moving around in the wind. It's just a beautiful looking game at 60 frames, Bender. When that Spider-Man PS4 Pro comes out and you jump on that, I mean, obviously play Spider-Man, but make sure you go back and play this game in performance mode because it is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I put it in cinematic mode or whatever it was called, and it looks very, very good with the higher resolution. It looks great. But that performance mode really just takes this game to a whole different level, and it's absolutely gorgeous. If I have one little nitpick about the game, it's the controls when you're not battling. Mainly when you're riding the damn horse. The horse is unwieldy at times. Maybe I just haven't figured it out yet, but trying to just maneuver through certain areas and pull up your sword to find the indicate where the Colossus is. The horse kind of has a mind of its own, and I get that it's a horse. You can't, I don't know how long they've known one another. Maybe they just met one another. But it's a little unwieldy, and then jumping and grabbing onto ledges not during the combat can be a little goofy at times. But I mean, it's nothing that's like, oh my god, this game is terrible. It's just, it feels like, that's a part of the game that's probably very difficult to like change without changing the entire experience, and I get that. But I mean, with that little bit of a problem aside, this game is fantastic so far. I got 7 Colossi down, and I cannot wait to get back in there and finish that. That's my main goal this weekend. After editing this show, I'm going to hop back in and try to finish up Shadow Colossus this week because we got some big games coming up this week. But I'm with you, dude. This has been an awesome experience so far, and I'm just very, very thankful that Blue Point was able to keep all the elements, all the everything that was beautiful about that game, and inject it into a better looking experience, a better sounding experience. And I love it, dude. It's been fantastic so far.
Nice. Yeah. I'm actually kind of envious of you getting to play it for the first time because I still remember that first time I played it, and like the the anticipation each time you would go to try to find the next Colossus. Like, what's this one going to look like? What's it going to be like? What's it going to do? Like, you just don't know. And each one takes a completely different strategy to defeat them. And like you said, it is a puzzle to try to figure out how to beat each one. And some of them will make you scratch your head. And I mean, I do kind of envy that, because I still, for the most part, I still remember how to beat all of them.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess I have that advantage, so I'll be able to just get through the game. But man, yeah, that first time you play it, it's just so cool. But yeah, this game is amazing. So definitely, if anyone has never played it, I highly recommend it. And Bluepoint did an amazing job redoing this game. It's so great.
Again, the highlight is those battles, dude. The epic music that kicks in, the intensity of it, hanging on for dear life, trying to find the weak spots. Everything in those battles is aces. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. It's a blast to play. Boys, I can't wait for you to check this game out, dude, and get in there and battle these Colossus, because when those battles kick in, this game just shines among all other games, dude. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed I didn't get a chance to play it this week. I really wanted to set aside a few hours and at least get it started. Was hoping to do that today, but tell you what, man, after I finished shoveling, I was just like, I don't feel like doing anything. I'm just gonna lay here for a little while. But yeah, hopefully I can get some time in with it this weekend before I go back to work. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing it, man. I can't wait.
It's fantastic. Great stuff. So, Benner, thank you for the recommendation. I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to try to stream a little bit this week, but it's just so difficult to stream a game like Shadow of Colossus, because it's a game that I just want to like really just focus on. I don't want to focus on who's commenting in the chat. Plus, if I stream it, I'm playing it on a smaller screen and a lower resolution. Obviously, if you do it at the 60 frames, it's at 1080p. But it's just a game you want to see on the big screen and just be immersed in and not have the distraction of reading chats or the lights on or the computer in front of you and all this jazz. It kind of just takes you out of it, and that's not what I want to do. But I might stream the next Colossus just so we can have it up there, and we'll get it at 60 frames so you can see how good this game looks in motion with that smooth frame rate. But, hey, we have a lot of games coming out this week. Boys, let's get into these new releases, dude.
Another big week, Brent. I mean, as soon as we hit that like first week of releases in 2018, games have just been coming out left and right, and this week is no exception. There's a lot of good looking stuff on the docket here. First, we're gonna touch on some games that we missed last week. Premium Pool Arena is available now on the Switch. Arcade Archives Crazy Climber is available now on the Switch. Arcade Archives Neo Geo Blazing Star, now available for the Xbox One. Samsara, a really interesting looking puzzle game. I'm curious about this one. deals with like the dichotomy between the regular world and the shadow world. That's available on Xbox One now. Fire Emblem Warriors got its Shadow Dragon DLC for both the Switch and the new 3DS. And we also had some new titles enter PS Now with the February lineup, and it's pretty nice lineup here. So, and these are, as has become standard, the last few PS Now releases. This one's focused on PS4 games now. So, looks like for the foreseeable future, they're going to keep putting PS4 games into PlayStation Now. So, we got Anomaly 2, Backgammon Blitz, Bombing Busters, Dirt Rally, Disgaea 5, Enigmatis, The Ghosts of Maple Creek, Galgun Double Piece, Grand Kingdom, NBA 2K16, Professional Farmer 2017, all PS4 games that are in the lineup now, and Yakuza 4 and 5 available for the PS3 now in PS Now. So if you're looking to get into those before Yakuza 6 comes out, give that one a look. And then we also got some PS3 games that got updated to their PS4 version. So Brothers, Guilty Gears Zerd Sign, Motorcycle Club, and Payday 2 Crime Wave Edition now available on PlayStation Now. And lo and behold, Red Dead Redemption, the most popular game on the service in January. Shocker. That literally happens every single month. Man, Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to be huge. All right, let's get into our spotlight releases for this week now. And we're going to lead things off with Kingdom Come Deliverance. This hits PS4, Xbox One, and PC on Tuesday, February 13th. Brent, you and I were lucky enough to sit down with Rick Lagnese, the community manager for Warhorse Studios. We have an interview to be coming up after we finish up the new releases here on this program.
Yes.
But Kingdom Come Deliverance is a very, very interesting looking title. It's a super ambitious game. It deals with an authentic recreation of like 15th century Bohemia. It takes realism into account. There's no magic, no dragons in this game. It's all very grounded in reality. But it looks to take on an epic RPG a la Skyrim, in this kind of a setting. And this was originally a Kickstarter project. It's been gestating in development for a very long time. It's finally ready for prime time. Talk to me about Kingdom Come Deliverance, Brent.
Yeah, this game has been on my radar for a while, and after talking with Rick, there's a lot about this game that I'm very interested in. And as you mentioned, this is an RPG in a setting where you would typically expect magic and sorcery and dragons and what have you. But this, like you mentioned, this is more based in reality. I think what they're doing now, instead of focusing on that stuff, they're going to try to keep you more interested with the combat, which seems to be a little bit deeper than what we expect. More in line,
very deep.
Yeah, more in line with like For Honor. There's a lot of attention to detail in terms of like what type of weapons you're using, the armor that you're wearing. There's a lot of stuff that goes into play with the combat, and then obviously this is going to be a very heavy story-driven affair. So there's going to be a lot of branching storylines, different quests that you can take. There's going to be different ways you can complete these quests. And there's just a lot to take into consideration when you play this type of game. It's a different take on the RPG the RPG genre that we know. And like you mentioned, it's very ambitious, but I'm very intrigued by this game. I'm looking forward to picking this up. I actually already have it pre-ordered. I'll be streaming it on Monday night, Tuesday morning at 12:01 right here on our YouTube channel.
Cool. Yeah, very interested to see how this one turns out. Bender, do you have any interest in Kingdom Come Deliverance? It's not the typical high fantasy, sci-fi, that kind of stuff. It's a more grounded in reality approach. Does that interest you at all?
Perhaps. I mean, it hasn't really been on my radar. I haven't really looked into it, so I don't know much about it. But I know it's something that Frankie was looking forward to. I mean, he put it on his most anticipated list. So something I might need to look into and see if it's something I might want to try out.
Yeah, Frankie's really looking forward to this game. He's been talking about it for a while, so be curious to hear his thoughts on it as well. But yeah, we got a good interview with Rick. Man, we talked to him for a good amount of time, Brent, but we lost some of the interview, so we due to technical issues. But what we were able to save, though, there's still some good stuff in there. So yeah, definitely stay tuned after the new releases here. We'll talk with Rick and give you guys some more information about the game. Very, very interesting looking title, though. Really, really curious to see this one on Tuesday. All right, moving on from there. The Fall Part 2 Unbound also hits on Tuesday. This is coming to the PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. Now, Brent, you actually reviewed the first Fall, if I remember correctly, for the website here. And outside of that crying baby puzzle, I think you enjoyed this game. What's your thoughts on the Fall Part 2 coming out on Tuesday?
It's funny. Normally, when there's a game that I really enjoy and I hear there's a sequel, I will start digging into any news that I can find regarding that sequel. I have done unintentionally a masterful job at avoiding everything about the Fall Part 2, but I am incredibly intrigued at playing this game. I have to play this game because I enjoyed the first one so much. The crying baby puzzle is probably the most frustrating puzzle I have ever tried to figure out my entire life. At that time, I actually had to just Google. I was like, I got to figure this thing out. And the way to solve it is just so... It's so random that I would be very surprised if anyone was able to just walk through and just be like, "Oh yeah, this is easy." I mean, when I finally saw what happened, I was like, "There's no way I would have figured this out. There's no way I would have figured it out." But it's a fantastic game in terms of its story. The characters are memorable. It was an awesome experience. So I'm definitely looking forward to this on Tuesday as well. I'm just not sure when I'll get to it, but I will play this game.
Another game that Frankie really liked was that first Fall. And he actually is reviewing the Fall Part 2 for us at the website here. So once the embargo lifts, which I think is sometime early on Tuesday, we will have Frankie's review posted on the website. So make sure you come on over to www.shortpause.com. Check out what Frankie thought of the game. Get you guys ready for the full release on Tuesday whenever the respective stores update for whatever platform you're looking for. So once again, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch on Tuesday. A game I'm super excited about is Owlboy, and that comes out on Tuesday for the PS4, the Xbox One, and the Switch. This will be the game that we feature on the Tuesday night Indie Spotlight. I I've heard great things about this title on the PC. It's a very highly lauded Metroidvania affair that looks absolutely beautiful. Just love the pixel art style in this game. It looks stunning, and I know they the developer mentioned that they thought about this when they were bringing it over to consoles, about how it would look on a high def display and how it would look even on a 4K display. So I'm really interested to see what this looks like when we fire it up Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel. Make sure you come on over, check that out. Hop into the comments. We'll be in there. Brent, you'll be there with me. We'll be talking about Owlboy, having some fun. But I love Metroidvania games. And like I said, the praise for this game was just astronomical when it finally released after some 10 years on Steam last year. So I was pumped to hear that this was coming to the consoles. Can't wait to play it. Bender, this looks like something you get into, man. What do you know about Owlboy? Are you excited about this game?
I'm really excited about Owlboy. I definitely want to play that game. I mean, it's a game that I've heard about a lot from different outlets and different people online and stuff. I'll probably be picking it up on the Switch because it seems like a good place to play it, and you have an indie game to play on the go. But yeah, it seems like it's going to have a cool art style and everything. I love Metroidvania games, so sounds like it's something that's going to be right up my alley. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, one of the things that I don't want to be lost as all these excellent games are coming out, but the independent titles in the beginning part of this year have just been great games, Brent. We've played some awesome games on the Spotlight. We've played some awesome games outside of the Spotlight, but stuff like Iconoclast, Wolverblade.
Hey gamers, Brent here. Sorry to interrupt the show, but Ben made a really good point there. Wolverblade is one of the great games that we've played so far this year, and we want to make sure that game gets a lot of recognition because it is just exceptionally well done across the board. So our friends at Novi Unlimited were kind enough to provide us with a digital code for Wolverblade on PlayStation 4. And that code is ANXC8LN2R6D. That is a code for Wolverblade on PlayStation 4, and I highly recommend to download it if you're fast enough to be the first one to get it, because it is a really, really great game. All right, back to the show.
And Bleed 2, and now Owlboy is coming out. Celeste. I mean, there's been some really good independent titles, and from the praise that Owlboy received on PC, I expect this to be nothing less than exceptional when this comes out to consoles on Tuesday. You looking forward to seeing this one on the Spotlight, man?
I am. This is the game that I'm not too familiar with. I know of it basically because every time you talk about it, you go on and on and on, and you love it. So I'm excited to see this thing in action. Finally, learn a little bit more about this game, because this is one of those games for myself. I'm kind of on the fence about it because, like you said, there's just so much stuff coming out to play right now, and I'm still trying to stick to my play fewer games to beat more of them. And Owlboy is a game that I'm interested in, and I definitely will be watching. Like I said, I'll be there with you on Tuesday night to check it out, man.
Yeah. Make sure you come on over, subscribe to the channel, join us in the comments, all that good stuff. We'd love to see you there. All right, moving on from there. A lot of Spotlight games this week, because there's a lot of good stuff coming out this week. Secret of Mana, the remake, hits PS4 on Thursday, February 15th. There's a GameStop exclusive retail release as well, if anybody's interested in that. But man, I absolutely love Secret of Mana on Super Nintendo. I loved that video game. It was so much fun. It was such a unique RPG at the time. It was one of the first quote unquote action RPGs where it wasn't like a turn-based battle system. You didn't sit there like Final Fantasy and go back and forth with enemies. Like, you were actually running around the world and you could see the enemies in front of you and you were combating them. It was also multiplayer through the whatever they called it on the Super Nintendo, the multi-tap or whatever at the time, but you could play up to 3 players on Secret of Mana. It was just a super fun game to play. It had a cool story. So to see this game being remade for the PS4, and it's coming to the Vita as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So yeah, Secret of Mana this Thursday, coming to both the PS4 and the Vita, which is awesome that this game's coming to the Vita as well. Man, the Vita getting a lot of love early in the year, man.
It
got
really
a lot of big time titles coming out. But Bender, did you ever play Secret of Mana on the Super Nintendo? It seems like a game you would get into as well. It's obviously it's a big time RPG from Square. But like I said, man, I loved this game on Super Nintendo. Did you ever play it?
Actually, never played it. and I know it's on the Super NES Classic, and I should probably boot it up and just try it out. But yeah, it's another game that I've heard of over the years, and I've never actually played it. So yeah, definitely need to try it out.
Yeah, I never had the chance to finish it, but yeah, the remake looks cool. You know, I love the 16-bit style of the original game, so that has its charm. But the remake looks cool. Looks like they've done a good job with it with the 3D sprites, and looks like a pretty clean looking game. So, yeah, definitely interested to get in there with Secret of Mana. Brent, maybe a Vita purchase here with the Secret of Mana.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about Secret of Mana. I never played it. I know there's a lot of people that love it and they swear by it. But if I do pick this game, it'll 100% be on the Vita. It just seems like the type of game where I would want to play it on the Vita, have it on the go. There's too many big titles I want to play on the big screen at home. So that'll definitely be a Vita purchase if and when I do get it.
Yeah, if this game remains faithful to the story and to the combat of the original, and I can't see how this would be anything less than fun. So yeah, looking forward to that one on Thursday. And our final spotlight title is Faya, however you say this game. It's coming out Friday, February 16th. Been in production for a little while now. It's coming to the PS4, Xbox One, and Switch as well. This is one of EA's EA Originals, I think their line of games that they call the independent games that they publish. So, you know, oftentimes lost in the big bad EA talk is when they publish games like Faya or A Way Out, which is coming out in the future, or Unravel, like those kind of games that they're coming out with their EA Originals line. Faya looks like a really, really interesting game. It's like a dark 3D like action platformer. It's got some interesting things with nature and love the style and look of this game. Bender, this looks like something up your alley, man. This one possibly a purchase for you on Friday.
Yeah, that's definitely one I've had my eye on since I first saw the reveal trailer, and from what I've heard, it takes cues from like Zelda games and even some like Shadow of the Colossus influences and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely something that's seems like it's up my alley. So I'll probably pick it up at some point.
Yeah, I can definitely see some of that in there. What about you, Brent? You been following this one at all? Any interest?
Just from you guys talking about, but no interest in it on my end.
Cool. So once again, that's a Friday release, and that'll be available across all 3 platforms. All right, let's get into the rest of the releases for this week, starting with Tuesday's releases. Pinstripe, a game we spotlighted last week on the Xbox One, comes to the PS4 this Tuesday. Another really, really interesting game, Crossing Souls from Devolver. So here's Crossing Souls. Here's what's got me juiced about it. With Crossing Souls, we're aiming to nurture the imagination and re-experience an important part of our team's childhood from the 1980s through video games, comics, cartoons, and film. We never forget those special moments from the Goonies, E.T., Stand By Me, Explorers, Ghostbusters, Gremlins, Karate Kid, Poltergeist, and more that shaped our view of the world and what was possible. All of these provided inspiration for the story we wanted to tell and enabled us to pay our tribute to all of these influences while adding our own twist.
Oh, wow.
It's not only how Crossing Souls looks at is important, but it's packed full of homages and references, but also the loving nods in gameplay to our favorites like Streets of Rage or Aladdin that we hope players will recognize and smile at all along the way. So Crossing Souls looks really, really interesting, man. They talk about, too, how they have painstakingly recreated their cutscenes to look like 80s cartoons, like He-Man or like Thundercats. Like, they wanted that vibe in terms of the animation. So they went through and changed the frame rate and did everything they could to give it that kind of vibe. So I really, really like what I've seen from Crossing Souls here, man. Super intrigued by it. Don't really know what kind of a game it is. It looks like some type of an adventure game with different types of gameplay throughout. Like they mentioned Streets of Rage and Aladdin and that kind of stuff in there. So so Crossing Souls firmly on my list. There's actually a demo out right now on the PS4. I need to get in there and check that out because super curious about this one, man. But Crossing Souls officially comes out on Tuesday. Mahjong Carnival hits the PS4 on Tuesday. Shacked, really interesting looking 3D running like racing game, comes to the PS4 on Tuesday. True Fear Forsaken Souls Part 1, a psychological horror like hidden object game, hits the PS4. Dynasty Warriors 9, long running series, comes to the PS4 and Xbox One on Tuesday. And this is something I'm really excited about. The Ninja Turtles DLC for Injustice 2 comes out this Tuesday for Ultimate Edition owners or whatever they call it, the fighter Pack owners. So it's coming to PS4 and Xbox One. The turtles look awesome in Injustice 2. So I watched the reveal trailer, and I watched the stream that NetherRealm did this past week when they unveiled the turtles and how they play. And interestingly enough, most of us thought that with the turtles there would be like one turtle that you picked and the other turtles would maybe help you out, or there'd be some moves that you use them for. But you can actually choose 4 different turtles in this game. Like you can actually play as any of the 4 turtles, and while they have a set of moves that they share between them, there is also a set of moves that each of them have that's unique to the character. And obviously they have their own weapons and things that they use that change how the character plays. So I was pleasantly surprised to see how the turtles have been implemented in this game. Essentially, Fighter Pack 3 now has 4 turtle characters and 2 other characters. That's like 6 extra characters that got added into Injustice 2 with Fighter Pack 3. And like I said, they look awesome. If you're at all curious about the turtles, go watch the gameplay trailer, go watch the NetherRealm stream. But I expect these Injustice 2 players to get in here with the turtles and really do some damage with them. They look pretty slick. Lots of PSVR games coming out on Tuesday. Highlighted to me, Brent, by Sprint Vector, which I think looks really cool, man. It's online enabled as well, but it's like a rollerblading racing game in VR. It looks intense, man. What's your read on this one?
I was actually perusing the interwebs, and there's a lot of solid reviews out there for this game right now. There are some 9s and 10s. I mean, some very strong reviews for this game.
Really?
And it is something that I'm considering picking up and featuring this week on Exploring VR. So there's this one, and we'll talk about another title here in a moment that I'm interested in. But Sprint Vector is very intriguing, and it looks really, really good.
Nice, man. I will make you this deal. If you want to feature Sprint Vector on Exploring VR on Thursday, I'll pick it up as well and get in there and race with you online. So if you're looking to do that, I will hop in there with you.
Cool.
Pop-Up Pilgrims, really interesting looking VR title. Looks kind of like Lemmings in VR. CubeWorks is a VR puzzle game. Drunken Bar Fight is basically just what it sounds like. It's a drunken bar fight, and then another really, really cool looking game is Knockout League, which literally looks like Punch Out in VR. Now, Brent, of those titles there, which are the other ones that are catching your eye?
After seeing the trophy list for Drunken Bar Fight, that's the other one that kind of stands out. You get a trophy if you throw something at your buddy's nuts.
Yeah.
In the game. I mean, it just sounds.
I believe there's a gold trophy for throwing a dart in your opponent's eye.
Yes.
I think
Oh my god! Like this game just looks crazy. I mean, I think Sprint Vector is the front runner, but man, Drunken Bar Fight, that just sounds awesome.
Yeah, dude, have you seen the Knockout League trailer? That game looks sweet.
That looks really cool. Good as well. Yep.
It literally looks like if Punch Out were a VR game.
It really
You're fighting all these wacky boxing characters, and yeah, that looks cool, man. I really want to see that one too. So, a nice looking slate of titles coming to VR on Tuesday, man. Wallet gonna be hurting this week. The longest 5 minutes, another really cool looking game for the Vita and the Switch. It's like an old style RPG game with a really interesting hook. You basically start at the final boss, and you're from what I can tell, and you've lost your memory, and you've got to kind of gain it back, and play the game. It looks really interesting. Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology hits the 3DS. This is a remake of the DS game. A lot of people love Radiant Historia. Heard some good things about this. So if you're an RPG fan, check that out on the 3DS. Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game, is just what it sounds like. It's a Supercross game for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap gets its physical release on PS4 and Switch. There's a physical release of Overcooked Special Edition hitting the Switch. Portal Knights also gets a physical release on the Switch. And South Park: The Stick of Truth gets its physical release on PS4 and Xbox One. All those, once again, coming on Tuesday. Wednesday, this is Valentine's Day, Guilt Battle Arena, another really cool looking game. It's coming to the PS4. It's a local co-op, just crazy like party game, for battle game. One of those kind of games. Really cool art style. And then Slice, Dice, and Rice looks badass. It's got this really awesome art style, and it looks like a new age Bushido blade. which I love, man. I loved Bushido Blade on the PlayStation. Thought that was such an awesome game. It was like this samurai game, and it was not about super moves and life bars and all that kind of stuff. It was just finding an opening and like getting that killing blow on your enemy, and that's what this game's all about, but in a hyper stylized style. It's really curious to see Slice, Dice, and Rice as well. On Thursday, these are coming to the Switch: Zeo Drifter, Torkel Physics Modified Edition, Johnny Turbo's Arcade, Gate of Doom, Arcade Archives, Neo Geo, Fatal Fury 3, Samurai Aces, Wander Jar, Try Again or Walk Away, Pool Billiard, Millie, and Aqua Kitty UDX, all coming to the Switch this week. Many of those games we've talked about on the program before, available on other platforms. And then Friday, big time title, Bayonetta 1 and 2, coming to the Switch. I have never sat down and like played through all the Bayonetta games. Obviously never played 2. It was on the Wii U system I never had. I dabbled a little bit with Bayonetta 1. Really, really liked what I played. So I definitely want to pick up this collection and see if I can play it on the Switch. Both games running at 60 frames, which is awesome. Good to hear that they ported over that way. A little disappointed to hear that the resolution on Bayonetta is going to be 720p on the TV for the Switch. Would have liked to have seen that at least bumped up to 1080, maybe even 900p we could get away with. But 720 is a little bit disappointing, but nice that the 60 frames is there. Brent, you grabbing this one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if right away, but it's something I'm interested in playing because I know people have spoken so highly of this series, and it's something I'd like to get into at some point. It looks like it's a super fun game to play.
Yeah.
And having it on the Switch would be ideal, but I don't know if I'll grab it this week, but I am interested in picking this up at some point.
Yeah, it's basically the gold standard for character action games. I mean, is Bayonetta. Like, that's the one that people point to. And I really like those kind of games. I would love to sit down and play through Bayonetta. Would like to do it on the TV with the Pro Controller. Hopefully the resolution holds up okay on there. Bender, where you at on Bayonetta, man? You picking this up?
I'm thinking about it, yeah.
Yeah.
Frankie seemed to really like those games, and seems like a fast-paced action franchise. So
yeah,
and I like the character design of Bayonetta. I think she looks cool.
Yeah, she's got an awesome design.
Yeah, so yeah, I think I might have to pick this up at some point and finally try those games out.
Do you get into those character action games out? Like, do you like stuff like Devil May Cry or those kind of games, or Metal Gear Revengeance, like those platinum kind of games?
I don't think I've really ever played any of them, so I'm not really sure. So, I guess I might as well jump into that genre at some point. So, Bayonetta might be a good jumping in point, I guess.
Yeah, it's probably going to be an incredible game to have on the go with you in handheld mode. For myself, though, I definitely want to sit in front of the TV, grab the Pro Controller, and see how this plays out. So Bayonetta coming this Friday, and of course, it's the precursor to Bayonetta 3, eventually hitting the Switch, a brand new title in the franchise sometime in the future. Also coming to the Switch on Friday, Joe Devers' Lone Wolf, an RPG that's been on other platforms, and then Claybook hits the Xbox One on Friday. Interesting looking clay-based puzzle game, which we talked about when it was announced a few months back. So Brent, that is going to do it for the new releases, man. There's got to be like, I don't know, 10 games that I'm interested in this week. It's a busy week.
Yeah, it's going to be busy indeed, and I'm going to be broke. But there are a lot of great games there. And again, I'll be streaming Kingdom Come Deliverance Tuesday night, Monday night, Tuesday morning. And then you can come back on Tuesday and check out Boys as he streams Owl Boy. But as we talked about earlier, we sat down with Rick Lagnese, the community manager for Warhorse Studios, to talk about Kingdom Come Deliverance. And here's our interview with Rick. Enjoy.
Thanks so much, man, for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend a few minutes with us. We know we're only a few days from the launch of the game of Kingdom Come Deliverance, so these are busy, exciting times for you guys in the studio. So we really appreciate you just taking a few minutes to come on and chat with us.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thanks, man. So before we get to Kingdom Come, though, can you just give us like just a brief Cliff Notes version of like the history behind like Warhorse Studios? Like, what would you say is like the mission statement for you guys?
Dungeons and no dragons.
I like it.
That was our Kickstarter motto there,
Yeah.
But it's interesting, our story begins in, I don't know, maybe it was 2000. in 12, or at least the idea was come up of Kingdom Come by Dan Varvra and Martin Klima. And, all good ideas start, especially in Czech, in a pub. So they get together in the pub and they talk about how they want to make a game that's really focused on European history in the time of 1403 in medieval Bohemia, and which is the modern day Czech Republic, which is where they live.
Oh wow!
They say they live because I'm the only U.S. boy there is. The studio's in Prague, Czech Republic. But what's even more interesting is when you try to make it based on history and realism, and then you don't have the dungeons or dragons, no magic, no fantasy. Mm-hmm. That can be sometimes a hard idea to pitch, especially in that time. Mm-hmm. When games with dragons and magic were booming, and still are. We had pitched to just about any investor you could think of, and no one really believed in the idea that we could be successful without the dragons, without the magic. Mm-hmm. So we finally found one investor. And, at this point in time in 2014, we had just a prototype of the game. That's all we had. And so we found one investor that said, okay, well, let's really see if this is going to work. Let's see what we can do in a Kickstarter or something that we can get, let's see how the fans will respond. Let's see what we can do here, And in 2014, the goal was, 300,000 euros? Mm-hmm. And we ended up being the third most successful Kickstarter in 2014. We raised over 1,100,000 euros. Wow. And we did. It was great. It just showed that you can make a game without dragons, without magic, a role-playing game, an open-world RPG, first person. And it, obviously because of our fans, we're 1 week away from launch.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome, man. So Rick, obviously you're the community manager for Warhorse. How'd you get involved? You mentioned you're the only U.S. guy on the team. How'd you get involved with Warhorse?
And because we actually do have Chris, he's our European community manager. But yeah, there's an interesting story there. And I was just saying this on the podcast beforehand that I honestly, I'm not your typical, and this might be encouraging to other people, I guess, but I dropped out of college when I went to one semester. Okay, and now I'm 35, guys. I'm not young. I'm not a kid anymore. But I told you 5 kids, so you get some of the grades. But I just couldn't. I moved out of, and this goes kind of way back, just kind of how it leads today. But even at 18 years old, I moved out of my dad's. And I just grew up fast. I was married when I was 20, and I've been married for about 15 years now. 5 children. Just grew up fast. And college wasn't for me, and I was not going to spend a dime on it if I didn't know what I want to do. That's me, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's got a different story.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And so I don't have like this experience with like any kind of experience being a developer. And if we're talking about, like, for example, coding, the only kind of coding I know how to do is put cheat codes in Contra. So
you and me both, man.
Bottom line is, I was a fan of Kingdom Come Deliverance before. It was before their Kickstarter, and I really love the idea of having this concept with no dragons, no magic. I saw the trailer. In fact, when I went just before there was the E3, the first E3 that Warhorse was going to be at, my brother-in-law said, "Hey, there's one game I want you to look into for me, and it's Kingdom Come Deliverance." And I said, "Well, it's funny you say that because I really want to see Kingdom Come Deliverance too, But before this, before I went to E3, before I met Warhorse, it's funny. I actually had unfollowed them on Twitter because they used to mainly speak in Czech, and I'm like, I can't read this, So they started changing that up a little bit, and they put out a tweet saying, "We need someone to set up a party for us at E3. Do we have any volunteers?" They wanted to set up a party for the fans, after E3 and at a pub. And I responded so quick on Twitter. I'm like, on my phone, typing as fast as I can. Pick me, I'll do it. I'll set you up, hook you up. I keep looking over here because my cat's doing crazy. What are you doing? At night, cats just do whatever they want.
They do.
Yeah.
Anyways, and so, and I skipped over some things, but I could talk forever about it. But, I started talking to them over Skype. Mm-hmm. And, we just started building a relationship. I did a lot of work to help them set up this party after E3, and meeting the team, meeting Dan Varver, meeting Toby, the PR manager. So just some great guys. Going out to eat with them, I'm like, I can't believe I'm going out to breakfast with these guys. Mm-hmm. And I'm in LA, right? And then the party went well, and but that's all I did. You know, I never thought of working for the guys. It was just building relationships. And I figured, hey, you know, maybe next E3 I'll ask them if maybe I can just go with them, kind of like at least have a Warhorse pass. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so like months later, and I knew I knew they wanted to kind of like. They said, you know, we should do something for you. Like I kind of knew they'd maybe hook me up with a copy of the game or something for setting up the party. You know what I mean? But I said, hey, Toby, the PR manager, I was like, you know, maybe I shot him a message on Skype. Maybe I can, you know, go to E3 with you guys. He's like, no, I want you to work for us. And yeah, we started talking, and you know, we weren't sure how it would work. It'd be kind of hard for me to move to Prague because my kids and my wife. We even tried to consider it, but it just wasn't going to work. And then a few months go by, and he's like, no, you know what, no. And he, you know, the team got together and they decided they did want to have someone represent them in the United States. And I did something for them in GDC, San Francisco. But then they asked me to be the community manager in May of 2016, and I've been the community manager ever since then. So,
damn,
nice.
It's funny how things work out like that, man. You just start off small, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you got a PR job or the community manager at a developer of a big game coming out. So, you know, you've touched on a little bit of Kingdom Come Deliverance, but like, what's the elevator pitch for this game? I mean, you don't have to go into it. You've talked about it a little bit so far, but how would you describe the setting, the gameplay, and just the overall tone of Kingdom Come Deliverance?
Yeah, so, you know, obviously I said it's an open world RPG based on, you know, history and realism. And the game takes place in medieval Bohemia in 1403. And so some of the events that happen, you know, that happen in history actually will happen in the game. And but, you know, our game is a very story-driven game. There's over 4 hours of cutscenes, and we really stress the emphasis on choices because some of those cutscenes are only unlocked based on the choices you make. So no one's going to have the same story, really, even though there's only one ending. But what we stress is it's up to you how you get there.
Right.
Or even the you know, speaking of realism, the combat in the game, we base it off HEMA, which is historical European martial arts. I mean, we actually use a physical collision system. So basically what we do is we calculate, you know, the amount of damage you do by what weapon you have,
right,
which type of armor they're wearing or not wearing, and how hard you actually hit them. So, you know, when people ask me what's your favorite weapon, it's like, well, it depends on what my opponent's doing or what they're wearing. You know what I mean? Because if I have a sword, it's not going to do that much blunt damage as if I had a mace. So someone has full plate armor, I might want to use a mace or maybe an axe, maybe how about a warhammer?
Rick, open world RPGs have become, you know, extremely popular genre in recent gaming history with the likes of like Skyrim, The Witcher 3. What was the inspiration behind creating Kingdom Come Deliverance? You know, were there any games Warhorse Studios were influenced by? I mean, obviously games like Skyrim and The Witcher 3 have a lot of magic in there, and obviously you guys' game doesn't focus on that. But where did they get their inspiration from?
Well, I mean, you know, when people look at our game, they've definitely taken, you know, can even tell, like, you get somewhat of a Skyrim vibe as far as, like, the environment almost. You know, even a little bit of, you know, if you will, Dark Souls with the fact that, like, you know, we're not going to necessarily hold your hand and you got to work your way through the game. You can't just expect us to tell you go here and go there because we're not going to do that. You know, even Red Dead Redemption a little bit with just the environment, the scenery, and even the way you travel on horseback and go travel with some of your guys, you know what I mean? You know, there's even people have also brought up a Bushido blade way back when.
Love
you know,
Bushido blade.
But yeah, we draw inspiration from some of those games for sure. And then other people talk about our combat. They think of For Honor a little bit.
Yes.
But, you know, Kingdom Come Deliverance is really a game in its own right. And that's the one thing that Dan and Martin Klima, you know, these guys, I mean, Dan Barber is the creative director behind Mafia 1 and 2, right? And a lot of people don't even know that. And then you have Martin Klima, who worked on Operation Flashpoint. And that's what you get with this game. Yeah, when you get the story and the choices you make in the Mafias, the first two, and then you get the realism of Operation Flashpoint. That's where you get Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Wow.
Gotcha.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So Rick, you mentioned Dan a little bit here. Obviously, his history with the Mafia games, and you've mentioned how Kingdom Come Deliverance is very story focused. And one of the things we were interested in was how much like agency the player has in controlling like how things play out. And, you know, I know you mentioned there's only one ending, but are there like multiple branching stories? Like what can we expect in terms of agency and player choice in the game?
Yeah, I mean, what you can expect is this. There with certain quests you do, some are time sensitive, some are not. And then you also get to have 3 to 5 different ways sometimes to solve quests. You can even fail quests and then find another way to solve something. So if you mess up something with somebody, and then you can maybe go talk to some other people, and if you help them out, say, hey, I messed up here, so if I'm going to help you here, you need to help me do something over there, kind of thing. There's going to be time, you can get through the whole game and want to play it again because, you can be like, hey, man, you should have seen this, or did you see that awesome fight, man? It was like we were going after that gang, and they had like 15 guys, and we had 15 guys, and there was some archers up here, man. And I freaking took them all out, with my boys. And you can be like, no, I threatened him. I told the gang member, I was like, the head guy, I told him, if keep screwing around, we're just going to wipe you out. And I actually leveled up my intimidation skill good enough, so that fight didn't even happen.
Wow.
And so you're talking about this big fight, and you never even had it happen. So. Yeah, and then you're going to have different cutscenes based on that too. As far as time-sensitive quests, you can, if someone says, hey, I need help I got these bandits that are coming after me, and you can be like, okay, all right, but you know what? I'm going to go do some side quests. I'm going to go to the pub. I'm going to play some dice. I'll be back in about 5-10 hours, right? Well, you're going to come back in 5 or 10 hours, and he's not going to be where you last talked to him, and if you go looking for him, he's going to wind up being dead. Because the bandits actually got to him.
Wow.
Or maybe you want to go and find those bandits that are looking for the guy, and you can say, you know what? I'm going to help you take them out. And then maybe you can do something with those bandits afterwards because you helped them out. So there's a lot of different ways to approach it. And that's why, I can, say there's one ending, but everyone's going to have a different story to tell because it's up to you how you get there.
Right.
There might be one solution with 4 to 5 different ways to do something. There might be a solution or two, and the great part of it is there's no classes in the game, so what you use is what you level up in. So you can choose to be that thief, the bard. You can even seduce. You can impress. You can have a high speech skill, but if you don't wear the appropriate clothing to talk to a nobleman, they're not going to take you serious. So you got to think about your every move in the game because it's going to affect things and people and reputation, skill, so on and so forth.
And see, those are the types of things I find so appealing, not only from a gameplay perspective, but like you mentioned, getting together with your buddies afterwards, talking about the game and comparing stories and be like, man, mine didn't even play out like that. Mine happened this way, yours happened that way, and, Ben over here, his happened a completely different way. I think that is awesome. That just generates awesome conversation and gets people talking about a game. So, no, I dig that, dude.
Yes.
So obviously, I think it's fair to say that Kingdom Come Deliverance approaches RPGs differently than most games in this space, with everything that comes into play with the game, from the multiple layers of the armor and the clothing, and needing to rest and eat food and whatnot. Is it fair to say that there's an extra layer of survival or management simulation, for lack of a better phrase, there at play here? And are there measures in place to prevent this from becoming a little overwhelming for the player?
Yeah, so that's the one thing that when we may have survival elements, but it's definitely not a survival game.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's kind of nice too is when you actually sleep, you can heal that way as well. Mm-hmm. You can play this game, being that you can kind of play it the way you want. You still will need to pay attention to it because you will need to eat. Mm-hmm. And if your food gets too low, your health can start to deplete a little bit over time. Mm-hmm. And then your strength skill can go down. If you're really tired, your speech skill is not going to be as good. So some of your speech stats can suffer. Mm-hmm. But the thing of it is, we don't want you being stressed out over like the entire game. Like, do I have enough food? I mean, but at the same time, we don't also want to allow the player to necessarily just be able to like think they can get away with stuff. Like, for example, just skip ahead time because they just want to skip ahead time. No, we want it to be where if you skip ahead time, time is still going. This is a living world. Mm-hmm. So you're not skipping time. You're just making it go by faster. So as it'll actually show you when you skip ahead time, your health or, more so your rest and your, food, that'll go down, your hunger. So you'll need to pay attention a little bit. But, I think we've actually had a pretty good balance. I think it's 96 minutes is equivalent to 1 day, a day, because we have a day and night cycle. So It's about 96 minutes. And we definitely don't want you to stress too much about that, but it will be a factor in the game, and you still need to pay attention to it, but it's not a survival game.
Yeah, I loved that. I watched the video earlier today, and I like that part where it's, if you mentioned if you get sleepy, you can't barter for crap. I thought that was a really cool take on it.
Your speed even starts to, like, your eyes will start shifting.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Again, it's more about the immersion than the survival aspect per se, right? It's more about we're bringing realism into the game,
right?
Just, so we take bits and pieces here and we put it together, and it's makes for a lot of fun for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Rick, you mentioned a little bit earlier about your in-house historian, which is pretty cool. Can you talk a little bit about the decision to just lean so heavily into like historical accuracy? Is it simply just a symptom of the studio being out there in Prague and they wanted to do something that kind of leaned back on the history, or what was kind of the decision behind all that? And in your mind, is that the thing that separates Kingdom Come Deliverance from most of its other contemporaries? Is just that focus on realism and historical accuracy?
Well, the historical accuracy is really cool, but I will say this. I've been saying this past few times just to make a point that you could have a kid just go and, pick, well, it's Peggy 18. So, fine. Mom and dad get this game for their son, daughter, whatever, right? And, they pick it up and play it. They can never know it's based on actual history and still play the game and have a great time. Mm-hmm. So it's more so, if anything, the realism. And when you put the historical accuracy along with realism, that's where when you actually play the game, you feel like you're really in the game.
Right.
I mean, and if you are into history, it's actually fantastic because our codex, like you unlock as you go to certain areas in the game, then you can read about what actually happened back then. We do have NPCs in the game that are actually non-fictional people. But sure, do we take pride in the history and the realism? Yeah, but it definitely would be more about the realism than anything else. I mean, like I told you with our combat,
right.
We talked about a little bit of the somewhat survival elements. Those are the things that, when you do put those together with the combat, and with more so than anything else, the exploring, investigating, getting lost in the Kingdom of Bohemia, that's what makes Kingdom Come Deliverance a game, its own game.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe one day we'll have people start comparing other games to Kingdom Come, because we all like to compare games, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Talking about our game and comparing it, but Kingdom Come is definitely its own game, and the fun factor is what we go for even more than the history side, because it's a video game, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a video game. So even with the historical accuracy or even the combat, we actually have perks and things that you'll unlock that you have to earn, but when you unlock them, it gives you like bonuses, to help you along the way and just mix up. It's just wait. You're going to have a lot of fun, man. That's what it's all about, is fun, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Now, that's one of the most fascinating aspects of the game for me, Rick, and that's the realistic combat system. We saw you guys have a video up on your site right now. It appears to be a very calculated, very strategic affair based on reading your opponents and taking advantage of like natural openings, depending on what their stance is, what their position. Can you talk to us just a little bit more about the combat system and how that all came together? I mean, did you guys get inspiration from For Honor, or has this always been in the plan to make it a more strategic battle when you go one-on-one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always been the plan. I mean, the thing is like what's interesting is we base it on, like I was saying, on HEMA, which is historical European martial arts.
Right.
We actually had professional swordsmen and fencers that worked in our mocap studio, to show us how the actual animations were, the swinging the weapons and the impact and everything. But yeah, so basically, bottom line is, there's like a star, and there's 6 different ways you can attack.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's like if you swing up high, it doesn't mean you're going to hit him in the head. It's a magnet. It's not a magnet. It means it's the direction you swing. And so if the opponent moves his head, then you might hit him in the shoulder.
Man, that sounds really good, Rick. The combat in this game is definitely very appealing to myself. It sounds like it'll offer something more complex, a little bit more strategic, as opposed to just button mashing, and that's really, really good. So, but hey, man, look, I know you're short on time. I know you got other stuff you got to work on, but one last thing, tell our audience, what they should be excited about, why they should be excited for Kingdom Come Deliverance this Tuesday.
It's the fun factor. It's the exploration and adventure. You can fight your way through most of the game if you want, or not. The different paths you can take are going to make for very fun gameplay, stories. People who stream the game, it's going to be unpredictable at times. They can think they're the best at the game, and then an archer takes an arrow not to the knee but to the eye. There's an arrow in the bone. But playing the game the way you want is really important. While at the same time, we've had a good enough balance to have over 4 hours of cutscenes to make it a really story-driven game. There's times where you'll notice the cinematics and the music, and you'll get like almost like a movie type feel. And then other times it's like, wow, this is just like an amazing, fun video game. And then there's other times like, Man, I'm pretty pissed because I just fought my way through this battle and one freaking archer took me out, you know? And, but, you know, sometimes during some save fights on a side note or some bigger fights, you know, sometimes we have a save point maybe here or there in an important part in the game. You know, we've talked about the different ways to save, but, you know, so we don't try to make it like too crazy or too real or too, you know, you got to cheat a little bit. We got to make this a video game. So we found that we've had a really good balance. So if you're interested in history, you'll absolutely love it. If you're not interested in history, I still believe you absolutely love it because it depends on what you like. So that's the freedom you have in the game. And, you know, it's a gorgeous looking game. If you love music, you love just having a great time. If you love making it really hard, you can do that. You can make it really hard or you can take a more softer approach. It's up to you.
Awesome. I don't know about you boys, but this sounds pretty damn good to me, dude.
Yeah, man. Got sounds like one we'll be picking up on Tuesday.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely be playing it. We'll be streaming it, Rick. But Rick, I want to thank you again for taking the time to being here tonight. We really appreciate it. We know you guys are very, very busy. Again, Kingdom Come Deliverance arrives on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC this Tuesday, February 13th, $59.99.
You know, if you pre-order, you can still get the Treasures of the Past, and that's pretty cool because you can do some treasure hunting and find some pretty neat armor in the game.
Awesome. Well, hey. Thanks again for being here, man. We wish you guys the best of luck on your launch.
Thanks a lot, guys, for having me.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Rick. Really appreciate it, man.
You're welcome.
Take care, Rick. Welcome back. Thanks again to Rick for taking the time out of his busy schedule. That guy is a machine in terms of being on podcasts and getting the word out about Kingdom Come Deliverance. The guy is on multiple podcasts talking about this game. We really, really appreciate him sitting down and putting up with the technical issues that we ran into with this game. But the interviews too turned out pretty good. He got a lot of good info from Rick. Probably should have been twice as long, but again, we just had issues with Skype, and then our recording software kind of pooped its pants during the interview, so we were only able to grab so much more. But again, thanks again, Rick. We really appreciate you stopping by. We'll try to get you by again in the future. Maybe we can talk about that Kingdom Come Deliverance and some of the different story paths that you and I take, boys. You know, I know it's something that you're interested in picking up somewhere down the line, but we could have a lot of fun with Rick in the future talking about the stories of Kingdom Come Deliverance. So again, that comes out Tuesday, $59.99, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. Make sure you check it out. If you do pick it up, let us know your thoughts on it. Send us an email, podcast@shortpause.com. Sound off in the comments below or on the website. We want to hear your thoughts on Kingdom Come Deliverance. Before we get into the news, we're going to take a quick break. We got some music here from Ruel Ethan, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Thanks again to Ruel Ethan for producing the music for this podcast. He does the opening, the closing, the music you heard right there. Check him out on Twitter at Ruel Ethan. Follow him on SoundCloud and iTunes. Gentlemen, let's get into the news. And first up, this year's Call of Duty is likely going to be Black Ops 4. Why is that? Well, people have discovered that Treyarch is actually working on the next Call of Duty game, and Activision has confirmed that Treyarch is working on the next Call of Duty game. Whether or not it's Black Ops 4 has not been confirmed, but I think it's a safe bet that that's where we're heading. I do want to ask you a couple questions about this, boys. Now, obviously, Black Ops 4, the last one futuristic, very futuristic.
Yeah.
And there's, rumors that they're going to be dialing that back to be more in line, closer to the gameplay that we see in World War II. But here's the other thing I wanted to ask you about. In terms of Black Ops, I feel like Black Ops 3 did a pretty good job at closing off the zombie timeline. They added that huge DLC pack where they brought all the zombie maps from the previous Black Ops games. Mm-hmm. Everything's tied up in a nice little bow, and you got everything zombies. And now you've got World War II with its own take on zombies. Do you think if this is Black Ops 4, do you think they would come back with another zombies mode?
I don't know. I feel like probably, but we talked about this a little bit before, Brent. But I feel like they've put zombies in every single Call of Duty for who knows how many years now. And they did like that offshoot with the aliens with ghosts. And I think a lot of people really dug that. And I feel like it's about time for them to try something different, because every single Call of Duty is pulling in zombies now. It used to be this was Treyarch's thing, right? Mm-hmm. They would put zombies in their Call of Duty, and what was it? Modern Warfare 3 had that weak ass whatever that had, survival mode or whatever that was.
Survival.
Yeah, that was garbage. But you've had other studios try to do their own thing, and after a while they're just like, the hell with it, we're just gonna put zombies in every single Call of Duty game. So I feel like the kind of whole system is kind of run its course at this point. Like zombies it's pretty much the same. Like when they come on these Call of Duty games, right? You get the zombies experience, and you get in every expansion you get one extra zombie map, and it kind of does the same thing over and over and over. So I don't know if people are just getting burned out on zombies at this point. I don't know. It seems like they would be like, yeah, we've been there, done that before. Maybe not. Maybe they still continue to enjoy these at a high level. But we talked about, man, like the possibility of Call of Duty implementing like a battle royale mode, or really trying to do something different with their additional mode in the game. And in a Black Ops setting, I think a battle royale mode would probably be pretty epic for a game like that. So it's only a matter of time before some of these big time games start to add these battle royale modes, and what bigger game than Call of Duty to do something like that? That would just be basically printing money at that point for Activision. But I don't know, just by the way things have been going, man, a gun to my head, I would probably say they would go back and do zombies again.
See, I would think Treyarch is probably the most dependable of the Call of Duty studios. I mean, obviously, Sledgehammer Games has made a valid point that they should be mentioned in the same breath as Treyarch with World War II, because for all intents and purposes, World War II has been a massive success and has gotten the Call of Duty train back on the tracks.
Yeah.
And so Sledgehammer Games definitely deserves some recognition there, but Treyarch is probably the most seasoned, most dependable studio they have working on Call of Duty. And I'm with you, man. I think, as much as I would like to see zombies, I really hope Treyarch is the studio they go to and say, all right, guys, get us a battle royale mode. Let's make that be the extra mode to go alongside the campaign and the multiplayer. Have the battle royale mode be the new separate thing. Or can we get special ops back, please?
Please.
Can we just get one more set of special ops? Not that survival crap you were talking about. Special ops in Modern Warfare 2 was freaking awesome.
It was the best, man. It was the best one that they did, hands down.
Now, I tell you what, dude. What's gonna happen is, like, I don't have my PS3 hooked up. It's all still put away. I never plan on hooking that thing up. If Modern Warfare 2 ever comes to backwards compatibility on Xbox One, we both get it, and we stream the hell out of Spec Ops, so people understand just how damn awesome that mode was.
I'm down.
Man,
Spec Ops was incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah,
it was, dude.
And we only ever saw it in that one game, man. That was it.
Yep.
Never appeared again.
Yeah, and that's what made Survival that much more disappointing, because that was an Infinity Ward joint that was like, okay, cool, they're coming back. Modern Warfare 3, they'll have, they don't do zombies, but they'll bring back special ops. Like, oh, we got this new mode. It's called Survival. It's awesome. We played it and we were like, man, this thing sucks. Survival sucks.
It was weak, man. It was weak as hell.
I mean, would you say that's probably the worst co-op mode out of all the Call of Duty games by far?
No question.
It's not even close, dude. No, I didn't really care for the Alien one in which one with Ghosts?
Ghosts.
I didn't really care for the Alien one. My buddies loved it, man. Some of these guys, they loved that stuff.
Yeah.
I just played it and I was like, dude, I just want zombies at that time. I was like, I don't need this Alien spinoff. But no, I really think that this is going to be, because, dude, Activision is not going to sit back and just watch the Battle Royale mode go crazy and not get a piece of that pie. We're going to talk about Fortnite in a little bit, and Fortnite went nuts and has proven that there are people outside of PUBG, games outside of PUBG that can flourish, and you better believe Activision's looking at it, especially with the rumor that Red Dead Redemption is going to feature some form of Battle Royale mode. That's the hotness. That's the new hotness, dude. And you better believe Activision's going to figure out how to shoehorn it into one of its games. And Black Ops 4 would be a prime candidate. Black Ops is arguably the most popular of the series now. Since Modern Warfare has kind of disappeared for a while now. So Black Ops is the most recognizable set of stories in the Call of Duty universe. And I think that'd be a perfect opportunity for them to bring a Battle Royale mode into it.
What I got a couple other questions for you. So where do you think the setting goes with Black Ops? Obviously, they've been getting further and further into the future with Black Ops, and with Black Ops 3, they were like full on 2065, wherever they were at, whatever year that was. Obviously, they want to rein that back in. They want to go back to this grounded approach that they returned to with World War II, because it's been successful. So what era do we see for Black Ops 4? Like where does it go from here?
Outside of being a remake of Black Ops Declassified, no.
Do you think we could go back to like the Cold War into that setting, or what do you think?
I mean, there were, if I remember correctly, Black Ops 1 had flashbacks to Vietnam.
It did, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they try to tap into that like prequel type of a setting. Go back and revisit Hudson and those characters back in Vietnam. Maybe focus more on that, so that way you have to implement the boots on the ground. You have to stick to what's worked in World War II, eliminate the whole futuristic elements of it, and some Vietnam, some Cold War stuff. I think that'd be a nice era for them to focus on.
They're gonna bring back what's his name, Sam? What's that actor's name? Dude,
Sam Worthington.
Yeah, God, that guy fell off a cliff, dude. he was literally in every single movie that was coming out, like after Avatar came out, and then dude, after a couple years, just off a cliff.
Dude, there was a sweet cast for Black Ops. You had Sam Worthington, Ed Harris, Ice Cube.
Yeah.
You had a sweet cast for that one, so I really enjoyed that game. That was actually a really good game. I loved Black Ops 1. The first one was sweet. That's
still the biggest Call of Duty of all time, I think, that first Black Ops.
Man, I wouldn't be surprised. I'd love to see the numbers with that in Modern Warfare 2. I think that was the biggest one before Black Ops, so I'd be curious to see those numbers. But, yeah, dude, I mean, if it's Black Ops 4, cool. I'm down with that. I really like Treyarch. I like the way they work. I like the way they design their games. And obviously they've been there before. But I really think Black Ops 4 would be the ideal situation. That's your biggest Call of Duty game outside of World War II, the most recognizable Call of Duty title. And they have to get in on this Battle Royale stuff. It's just way too hot. So I think Black Ops 4 would be an ideal situation or ideal scenario for them to fit that in.
So let's say we get Battle Royale with Black Ops 4, and then we'll assume that, I mean, we already knew Treyarch was making this game. They're next in the cycle. So the next one after this is going to be Infinity Ward. Now with Infinity Ward and this return to the grounded boots on the ground type stuff, I'm gonna just throw a guess out there that maybe they're thinking about returning to Modern Warfare. Infinity Ward goes back to Modern Warfare 4. And maybe then we see the return of Spec Ops. Like, let's get back. Let's let these guys do different things. Like, let's not put zombies in every single Call of Duty game.
Right.
Let's let these guys let that concept breathe. Let's let them explore this a little bit. Let's get Spec Ops back in Modern Warfare 4 with Infinity Ward in a couple years, and let's do some Battle Royale with Black Ops. Let's do this, man.
And I'm gonna add one more piece to it. Let's get that Modern Warfare 2 remastered. Okay.
Ooh, I like
what? That'll definitely get things going. If you get Spec Ops and Modern Warfare 2 remastered into Modern Warfare 4, that thing will sell gangbusters, dude.
Yeah, dude. If they do Modern Warfare 2 remastered, like that's a Spec Ops midnight stream right there.
Yep. Oh hell yeah,
on that.
And see, look, you would have the entire Modern Warfare 2 game with all those Spec Op missions, and then you'd have all the new Spec Op missions in Modern Warfare 4.
Mm-hmm.
Woo, man!
Let's get on this, Activision.
Let's make it happen. Speaking of Activision, they're doing pretty well, boys.
No, really?
Yeah, they're not
shocking.
going broke. Yeah, they're not going broke anytime soon. But obviously, Activision had its year-end call with investors earlier this week, and they revealed that $7 billion in net revenue was earned in 2017 fiscal year.
That's with a B, right?
Billion. $7 billion. For the fourth quarter of the year, digital revenue accounted for $1.62 billion, over half of its total of $2.64 billion for quarter four. Now, here is the interesting number, boys. What has been the one topic, guys, amongst video games that has really pissed gamers off?
I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Microtransactions.
All right, boys, you're going microtransactions. Bender, what do you think it is?
I'm also going to say microtransactions.
You guys are right.
Lock it in. Final answer.
Yep. That's a lock. Nobody likes microtransactions. Gamers are like, oh, the hell with that. I'm not buying your game, and if I am, I'm not giving you one dime. Bullshit. According to Activision, they made over $4 billion off of microtransactions last year.
Wow.
In-game purchases, not million, $4 billion earned from microtransactions.
Wow.
And I can tell you right now, man, it's not all PC people that are dropping money. It's console players. The same people who are downplaying microtransactions, denouncing the games that use them. $4 billion, dude.
Wow.
Woo! Can we start short pause microtransactions?
Yeah. We'll finally get those coffee mugs that Angels and Demons wants. Maybe we'll start microtransaction in those.
Yes. Or find a way to get our coffee mugs implemented into games as microtransactions. For like 20 cents, you can get a short pause mug in a game that you end up blowing up or shooting, whatever you want to do. But, dude, that's insane. $4 billion. Boys, talk to me about these numbers we're hearing here from Activision, man.
I mean, it's astonishing, and it just shows you, like, how much this industry has evolved and the revenue streams and just the amount of money that is available in the video game industry now with these digital revenue streams that these publishers and developers have access to. I mean, it's unreal. That's basically $4 billion that Activision wouldn't have had a couple years ago that they now have part of this year because of these new revenue streams that people are discovering. And what I find interesting to hear too is where Destiny 2 fits in all this. We've got an article linked in here that we're reading from PC Gamer, and they note in here that Destiny 2, despite its struggles, is part of this success as well. As we noted yesterday, Destiny 2's Curse of Osiris expansion had a better attach rate than the first expansion for the original Destiny. So that's another one of those things, man, where you hear all the complaining and the talk of this and that, but Curse of Osiris has a higher attach rate than the Dark Below did to the original Destiny. So despite all of that, despite all of whatever everybody's saying, it's got a higher attach rate than that. The release of Zombie Chronicles for Call of Duty Black Ops 3 further demonstrated the value of DLC, as Activision Blizzard president and COO Cody Johnson said it was the #1 add-on offering of the year for PlayStation North America, despite Black Ops 3 being almost 2 years old when it came out. It's incredible, man. Just as impressively, player investment in additional virtual goods and services surpassed investment in downloadable content in 2017 for Call of Duty and for Destiny, and we expect that to be the same for 2018. Activision has a great digital roadmap ahead, including Destiny 2's expansion pass and Call of Duty World War II season pass. So Activision has two of the biggest franchises out there in console gaming and shooting with Destiny and Call of Duty, and they also have Overwatch and World of Warcraft and Hearthstone and all this kind of stuff in their stable as well. So yeah, those microtransactions, those billions and billions and billions of dollars that they're making off digital purchase are only going to continue because all of their games have a long-term revenue solution attached to them. So I mean, these guys are just hand over fist, man, with money. It's unreal, really.
Bender, when you hear $4 billion earned off of microtransactions, do you expect microtransactions to go anywhere for any game?
No, unfortunately not.
Because these publishers, they hear the backlash, they hear all the voices and the complaints, and they see the social media and they see the forums, but then they check their bottom line and they're calling everybody's bluff. They're calling gamers bluff. They're saying we're full of crap. And this is why microtransactions are never, ever, ever going away. Ever.
Mm-hmm.
And some people do microtransactions okay, and I think that's going to be the key moving forward is for these developers and publishers to figure out a way, because these aren't going anywhere, and these are going to become even more of a necessity as we continue to upgrade the technology. Once we get to PS5 and Xbox 2 and AAA development gets even more astronomical than it already is. Like, these developers and publishers, they need to find ways to get this extra revenue so that they can make these big time games. So this is going to become a necessity in the industry moving forward, and now it's gonna be incumbent upon the developers and the publishers to figure out the proper way to do this so it doesn't impede on our gaming experience.
Mm-hmm. You can make a lot of Call of Duties and Destiny games with $4 billion off microtransactions. You can make a lot of games off that.
Sure can.
Wow. Unbelievable. So Black Ops 4, likely the next Call of Duty game. Treyarch is on the case. Typically, we find out more about the Call of Duty game in May, somewhere around the NBA playoffs, where those begin. That's when we start to see our hints and whatnot from the Activision. So 3 months from now, we'll find out exactly what is cooking at Treyarch.
Yep.
All right, moving on from that. Bender, let's talk about a game I know you're excited for. That's Metroid Prime 4. Earlier this week, now before we get to that, you were wondering who is making Metroid Prime 4. We found out it wasn't Rare or Retro. It wasn't Retro making it, but now we know who is making it. And that's Bandai Namco, which is something I don't think any of us expected to hear, that Bandai Namco was making this game. But internet rumors this week pegged Bandai Namco as being this mystery studio behind Metroid Prime 4, something that sources have now confirmed to Eurogamer as being accurate. Since that publication, though, they've also heard that Bandai Namco's Japan studio is also working on the project with the intention it will now take the lead as its development, while Singapore moves to focus on another Switch game. But here we are, boys. Bandai Namco is working on Metroid Prime 4, man. What's your thoughts on that?
Interesting. I hadn't really considered them for the development of this game. Partly because I guess they don't usually dabble in like first person shooters or games of this ilk. I know Metroid Prime's not really I don't know that I would classify it as a first person shooter. I mean, it's a first person game, but there's so much more that goes into it than just shooting aliens. But even still, yeah, these guys were not at the tip of anybody's tongue, I don't think. But some of it makes sense though when you look a little bit further into it. I think IGN dug into this a little bit, and I thought they made some good points. But obviously they've worked with Bandai Namco on several of their Nintendo properties in recent memory, specifically Smash Brothers. The last one for the Wii U. Bandai Namco was involved in that Pokken tournament. Obviously, they were involved in that with its kind of mixture of Pokemon and Tekken. So, they've developed other games in the past with Nintendo as well. So they've had a long-standing relationship with them. Very interesting, though, that Nintendo would peg them to the keys of the castle, so to speak, for a game like Metroid, which is one of their big-time franchises. And with Metroid Prime 4, a lot of people anticipating this game. And I thought it was interesting, too, that Bandai Namco Singapore, which is the studio that was originally pegged to work on this, houses many of the people who worked on Star Wars 1313 for LucasArts Singapore. So they've now moved on from there, and they work for that studio now. So obviously they have a sci-fi background and an adventure background with that game that they were making. Unfortunately, that one never materialized, but it always looked really cool. So there's clearly some talent there. So I think that's good news that some of those people could possibly be working on Metroid Prime 4. But then we have this other wrinkle that Japan studio from Bandai Namco is really the ones that's going to be taking the reins on this. So it sounds like Singapore is maybe just kind of biding time until Japan is ready to get involved with the full-fledged development of it. Sounds like maybe Singapore is still going to be involved in some respect, but they have another game that they're working on, and we'll talk about it in a second here, but we have an idea what that game might be as well. So, yeah, really interesting, but I guess some of it makes sense when you think a little bit more about it. I guess there's just a lot of unknowns in terms of Japan studio, Bandai Namco, and their experience, or I don't know what they're responsible for, what they've developed in the past. I'm sure they've made a million games before. There's Bandai Namco puts out a ton of games. But I just I don't know what their experience is in game making, or what Nintendo saw in them for Metroid Prime 4. But I have to imagine that with the Prime franchise, like, Nintendo's not gonna entrust this to just any developer. So like I said, with the long-standing history, they must have had something over there that made them want to turn this Prime over to those guys.
Mm-hmm. Now, Bender, obviously you're a big fan of the Metroid Prime series. When you heard that Bandai Namco was kind of taking the reins here and developing this game, we talked about Ben just talked about these things like the studio's maybe not too familiar with this type of game. Does that concern you, or does the fact that, like Boyce mentioned, Nintendo wouldn't just give Metroid Prime to any, like, the Nihilistic or Instigate or whoever the hell it was that destroyed Black Ops Declassified? But where are you at on this decision, on this choice for developer? Are you any concerns, or are you are you curious to see what they come up with?
I'm okay with it. I'm not really concerned with this decision. Bandai Namco have been around for a long time. They've made lots of games, even though they may not have a ton of experience in first-person games. I mean, they've done a lot of stuff. Like Ben just mentioned, they worked on Smash Brothers Wii U and 3DS. So I mean, they've worked with the Nintendo before. I'm sure Nintendo's not going to just leave them to their own devices. They're just going to, I'm sure they're going to have a close watch on the progression of development as they go along. So, I think it's going to turn out to be good,
mm-hmm.
And everything. So I'm not too concerned, but I just can't wait for this game. I know it's probably a long way off, but I'm really looking forward to the next Metroid Prime game.
I know you are, buddy.
Something on that too, Bender. You mentioned it there. Like, when you hear things like the Singapore studio is turning the reins over to the Japan studio for, like, the full-on development of the game, does that lead you to believe that this thing's really far away at this point?
Yeah, it kind of sounds that way. I mean, that coupled with the fact that all we've seen is a logo and nothing else.
Yeah, it's usually a good sign.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna, like I said when it was first announced, I knew that this wasn't anything that was imminent or about to come out, but just to know that it exists and that it's being worked on is satisfying to me. We got the Metroid Prime game for 3DS to tide us over. That was a good one. So now we know this is on the horizon. So I'm happy with that. I want them to take their time on it and make it a great game. So I'm satisfied just knowing that it's on its way.
One more thing on that too, but I was just thinking about this, Bender. But when Nintendo first unveiled Metroid Prime 4, didn't they say a new developer was working on this game or something along those lines?
I thought they had said a new team was working on it or something.
So maybe that was just kind of their way of slyly mentioning that it's a new team for Metroid with Bandai Namco than a brand new team that they were assembling in-house.
Yeah, I guess so, because they didn't really elaborate on it from what I can remember. I thought they just said this was being done by a new team.
Yeah.
Or maybe specifically within Bandai Namco, maybe it's a new group who haven't worked together before or something. I'm not really sure what they meant, but I was a little thrown off by that when I heard it was Bandai Namco, because I was like, I thought they said it was somebody new, so I don't know. I'm not sure what they meant by that.
Yeah.
Well, all of this follows a report that Bandai Namco is also working on a second Switch exclusive, including Ridge Racer 8. According to a developer resume on LinkedIn, Ridge Racer 8 is an exclusive. And back in November, there was an earnings call where Bandai Namco leadership did discuss putting more resources towards development of Switch games, as Bandai Namco president Mitsuaki Taguchi acknowledged the 3 games the company had released on Switch were doing very well. So obviously their games have done very well on the Switch. It makes sense for them to want to get involved with the Switch more. And obviously Ridge Racer 8, wow, that's coming to the Switch exclusively, boys.
Yeah, it's a bit strange to hear that, and I think it's funny that these job listings, they like really didn't beat around the bush. They're like unannounced first person shooter with big AAA franchise for Nintendo, or however they worded it. It's pretty clear that they're talking about Metroid Prime in one of those, and then to mention Ridge Racer 8 just flat out in this other thing is interesting. So that would account for the 2 titles that they were referencing. So, it's interesting. Obviously, Ridge Racer has a long-standing history with PlayStation. I think Kaz was famously yelling Ridge Racer out on stage in the past. So it would be a little strange if they just went exclusive with that one on the Switch. But hey, maybe they got some plan with that. So more power to them.
Well, indeed. Ben, any interest in a Ridge Racer on Switch?
Perhaps. I don't think I've ever played a Ridge Racer game, so I have no experience with the franchise, but I might check it out if it looks good.
Dude, I have no experience.
I loved Ridge Racer, man. When the PlayStation first came out, this was back in the day when you used to rent consoles. Like, this was the cool thing to do. So we would go to Blockbuster and we'd rent a PlayStation with Ridge Racer and like Battle Arena Toshinden. Like, those were like the 2 go-to games. And I loved playing Ridge Racer. It had like 1 track or whatever, but it was just so cool to be playing a PlayStation at that time, like going from like Super Nintendo and Genesis and then firing up that game and playing it. It was really cool. So I loved the first Ridge Racer.
Yeah, I skipped Ridge Racer and I just went with Destruction Derby. That was my game of choice.
Yeah.
I really like that one. But let's stay with Nintendo for a moment. We got some breaking news, boys. This is big. Toad's head is not a hat.
Man, dude,
that's his head.
That's been a long-standing mystery in the Mushroom Kingdom, and I'm glad that that's been solved now. So,
Bender, are you relieved? Now that you know the truth?
I don't know why this was even a discussion. I never thought Toad's head was a hat. I never thought that. Apparently, I mean, I've seen the screenshot going around. Apparently, it's from the Super Mario cartoon in like the 80s, where Toad actually took his hat off, his mushroom head off, and like wore it held it in his hand like a hat. I'm like, that's not canon. You can't point to that and be like, oh, that proves it. It's like, no. I've never even considered that until this argument came up on Twitter. I was like, that's so dumb.
Yeah, so this is just one of the many topics that Super Mario Odyssey producer Yoshiaki Koizumi sat down with and answered. When talking about Super Mario Odyssey, Nintendo recently released a video with Koizumi answering tough questions about the hit platformer, including why Mario doesn't have a belly button and whether or not Toad's wearing a hat, and he even touches on Mario's love life.
Oh man!
Regarding Toad's hat, so this is what he had to say. Quote: "So that, as it turns out, is actually Toad's head. I'm going to have to leave it all to you to figure out exactly how that works out. Maybe there's something inside," he ominously teased.
Oh man!
And when it comes to commenting on Mario's relationships with Peach and Pauline, Koizumi isn't confirming or denying anything, but he simply said, "Quote: I would appreciate if we could respect the privacy of those 3 at this time." End quote. Those 3. Whoa. Mario.
All right then, Mario.
You dog, you. Wow. What goes on under that roof?
Some Rosalina action on the side when he goes into space.
Mario just he does a lot of plumbing, doesn't he? So up next, the laughs keep coming. The Switch has triple the games the Wii U had at this point.
Jeez.
Yes. As of December, the Switch had 3 times as many games as the Wii U did at the same point after its own release, and double that of the Wii. Kotaku did some number crunching, and here's what they came up with. By day 279, the Switch had 191 games available. a number the Wii U didn't match until its 857th day. I thought they were going to say yesterday. As many games in 9 months as its predecessor had in 2 years and 4 months.
Jeez.
Wow. So once the Switch took off, and it was pretty obvious this thing was going to sell a bunch. And this is mostly thanks to 10 Tons Limited. So thanks, guys, for releasing every one of your games in the first 2 months of the Switch's release. But, boys, let's step back for a second. Just take a look at that, dude. That speaks volumes about where the Wii U was compared to where the Switch is now.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things we talked about before the Switch even came out was getting a better grip on independent titles and getting a better presence on your system in that space. And that's what they've done with the Switch. They've got a huge amount of independent titles coming out on the Switch every single week. And they're just, developers are seeing success on that platform. So they're just flooding it left and right with their games. And I don't know, it seems like every time we hear a story about one of these games, it seems to sell well. So the Switch ownership, they have a high attach rate with their machines. They want to buy games for their machine, so people just keep pumping out these games. People just keep buying them.
Mm-hmm. Now, Bender, I know you're one of the tens of people who love the Wii U. What does this tell you, man? These numbers here, man.
Just tells me that the Switch is doing a whole lot better than the Wii U was. The Wii U just didn't really hit it off with people. It didn't really connect with people the way the Switch has. And I think the Switch is kind of the realization of what the Wii U should have been. The Wii U, it had the gamepad and you could play off TV mode, which was cool, but you couldn't walk more than 10 feet away from the TV or disconnect. It just didn't really work. Plus the gamepad was huge. It was like a heavy, like a play school toy or something, like a big piece of hunk of plastic. But the Switch is a cool device. It's it's easy to hold, it's easy to carry around, and you can pop it in your TV and play on the big screen and take the game with you. So yeah, it's a much better device. It's much better designed, and it's really showing in the sales and the third party support and the indie support and everything. So good for them. I'm happy it's doing so well.
It's doing incredibly well, and again, it's just a testament to the convenience of the Switch that it brings to gamers, like you said, being able to play at home and then just take that at-home experience with you on the go. I mean, that's every developer knows, especially these indie titles. These indie titles are perfect for short bursts of play, and they're just super appealing on the Switch. They're absolutely appealing on the Switch. Like Celeste, I didn't think I thought after once I played Celeste for a little bit, I was like, man, I'm just going to put this on the PS4 and play it there so I can get my trophies. I played through Celeste entirely on the Switch. And I was like, this is just an ideal spot for these types of games. And now I understand why developers like 10 Tons Limited are just throwing their entire catalog at the Switch. Is going, everybody just push everything out for the Switch. Everyone's buying it there. So it's just it's impressive to see the disparity, the difference between the two at this point in their life cycle. It's just incredible, man. So congratulations again to the Switch, just doing very, very well. Moving on from that, Nintendo Gold Points. You'll be able to use these for Switch software soon. Bender, do you have any Gold Points?
Oh yeah, I'm sure I do.
Wow. Starting in early March, you'll be able to spend any Gold Points you've accumulated in My Nintendo when purchasing Nintendo Switch software from the eShop on your device, or even via the website. You can pay for the remaining balance with Nintendo eShop funds or any other payment method available in the eShop. My Nintendo users won't have to rush to spend them. Nintendo confirmed earned Gold Points will be valid for a year. So any points earned in February 2017 can be used up until February 2018. The service update is limited to Switch owners in Europe, Japan, and North America. So now, I didn't obviously invest too much time in My Nintendo. What are Gold Points, Bender?
So they've got Gold Points and Platinum Points. Let's see, I'm trying to think. I think the Gold Points are the ones that you can use. Up till now, they've only had rewards that you can cash in for like discounts on Wii U and 3DS games. And they've, on the website, it said since the Switch launch, it said Switch rewards coming soon. And like we've been like, when? So now they're finally doing that. So now you're going to be able to cash in your Gold Points. They're the ones you earn for buying software. So the gold points you get for actually purchasing games. And so once you collect those, you can cash them in for these rewards. It'll be like a discount or something like that. So it's finally we're going to be able to cash them in for actual Switch games and Switch related rewards, which is cool. But the one thing that does suck is like if you just got a Switch in March, though. They're saying that this is going to happen in March, but your Switch points that you got if you purchase the Switch at launch those points are about to expire in March. So
those sly dogs.
Yeah.
Just want to be
that part kind of sucks, but at least they're finally rolling this out and it'll be out from here on out. So that's good.
Dude, I hate that those points expire. Like, why do they have to expire? Like, I had some platinum points, and I'm sure those are all gone now because I didn't realize that they expired. So it's like, why can't those just like be in your bank and then you can use them when you're ready? I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. It sucks.
Keep it going, boys. Let's keep bagging on Nintendo. I want to really get under a better skin here tonight. Moving on. Next Nintendo Switch Online announcement is going to be worth the wait, fellas.
I sure hope so.
Both President Tatsumi Kimishima and Managing Executive Officer Shinya Takahashi weighed in on the service, with Takahashi stating that the next announcement will be worth the wait. First up, we have a quote from Tatsumi Kimishima, the President and Representative Director. Here's what he had to say, quote, "We view the online service as one component of our efforts to diversify how our games are played and to get people to play more of our games. That is why we want to apply substantial resources to the online service with the thinking that we will devote our energies to making this a pay-for service. As for how we plan to popularize the service, it is less about the mechanism and more a question of what kinds of products we can offer, and the spread of the service will depend on whether consumers want what we offer. Please give us a bit more time to announce more details about the service. I think the announcement will convey to you how we plan to popularize the service." End quote. And then we heard from Takahashi. Quote, "We have some ideas about how to make Nintendo Switch Online appealing when it becomes a pay-for service. So I think our next announcement will be worth the wait." End quote. Please tell me they're going to find a way to implement voice chat into the Switch. Is that going to be please tell me that's what we're talking about here.
Don't get your hopes up.
There's a few things we need to be talking about here. So it's voice chat, it's virtual console, and it's achievements. Like, these have to be like the three pillars that they're thinking about here.
Would that make it worth the wait, boys? If that's what the announcement is, do you think that's what we're talking about here?
No, I don't think that's what we're talking about. Would it make it worth the wait? Of course, that's like what everybody wants, but it's probably not going to be that. So who knows? Nintendo's worth the wait might not be everybody else's worth the wait. So,
right. Better, obviously, we know some of the things we're going to be getting with the service. You know, we get the free game and whatnot. What else do you think they could be adding that'll make it worth the wait?
I don't know, man. What I want it to be is like part of the subscription fee that you're paying every year is going to be like monthly classic games that you just can play as much as you want. We don't need the virtual console. I don't think we need the virtual console in the incarnation that it was before on the Wii and the Wii U. But I think if they just make it into a subscription service where we just play, you can play Mario Brothers or Mario 3 or Zelda, whatever you want, as long as you're paying for it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that would make it worth the wait, in my opinion.
Right.
I just on that, just because of the price that they've announced, Bender, I just don't see that being an option. For $20 a year, there's no way they're going to give us an unlimited virtual console for $20 or $30 a year. There's no way. They would charge an arm and a leg for that.
Yeah.
I really just want voice chat in the system. And like you mentioned, boys, I want achievements. Give me achievements. Just some form of achievements. They'll probably give us something that's just a half-ass or a completely strange way of doing achievements, if I know Nintendo. But yeah, I have no idea what to guess right now to make it worth the wait. We were all super pumped for the January Direct, and we found out what that was. So it is what it is. But let's keep it moving here. Again, the Nintendo Switch library of games about to grow even more. 6 tiny build games are headed to the Nintendo Switch. 6. first up, The Final Station, a game we featured on the Tuesday night Indie Spotlight. A very cool game, boys.
Very cool game, yeah.
We also have Cluster or we also have Cluster Truck. All right.
We also have Cluster, also known as this program.
Up next, Punch Club, Party Hard, another game we featured on the Tuesday night Indie Spotlight, Streets of Rogue, and Hello Neighbor. This is I don't know about Hello Neighbor, man. That one did not review well at all on the Xbox One. My expectations are very low for that on the Switch. But for the most part, this is a fine selection of games here, boys. I know you enjoyed Final Station. I know you really enjoyed Party Hard as well. So Tiny Build getting in on the fun with independent developers. 6 titles coming to the Switch.
Yeah, I'm super interested in Streets of Rogue too. That's a game that's been in early access on the PC. It actually hasn't come to any other consoles yet, so I don't know if that's going to be a Switch exclusive when it first comes out, and maybe it comes to other consoles later. But that's one I've been having my eye on. I'm waiting for that one to come to consoles. So this is good that we know that it's at least coming to the Switch. So that probably means the other consoles are imminent as well. But yeah, very very curious with that one.
And last bit of Nintendo news: some more secrecy. We don't know who the hell's making Labo. Nintendo is being unusually tight-lipped about the creative team or teams involved in Nintendo Labo. When it was first announced, Nintendo made no mention of who was developing the software. Even now, during the latest hands-on, Nintendo declined to answer questions about what developers or designers are working on the project. It's a bit unusual for Nintendo not to be forthcoming about this sort of information regarding a game that's already playable. Now, if I remember correctly, not to go back to it, but man, Sony did was very determined not to let anyone know who was making Black Ops Declassified. You remember that? Nobody knew who the hell was making that game. And then finally, when it came out that it was nihilistic, everyone immediately looked at Resistance Burning Skies and said, oh, shit. But we don't know who's making it.
It was like the apes in Spaceballs. And they're just like, oh, shit.
Yeah,
there goes the planet.
But what do you think about this, boys? We don't know who's making the software for this thing.
Strange. I don't know why they'd be withholding that information. I don't know. Bender, do you have any ideas? Is it maybe because it's the 1-2 Switch developer and they don't want people to relive that? I don't know.
I'm not sure either why they would withhold that information. I was listening to a podcast recently and somebody was saying that they were worried that it was going to turn out to be retro and we were going to find out that this is what they've been working on.
I was seriously just going to say, watch it be retro.
That would be a kick in the nuts.
Yeah, I will be, if that turns out to be what it is, I will be so disappointed if I find out that that's what they've been working on this whole time. I don't think that's what it'll be, but man, that would be the worst. But other than that, I don't know why they would be so tight-lipped about who is developing this. Doesn't make much sense to me, but you know.
Yeah. Like how does that make you feel as a developer when Nintendo's like, nah, we don't want to tell you who's making this game.
I don't know. I would just assume that it would be like one of the developers that they outsource to make like the Street Pass games for the 3DS. I could see it being like something like that. They use some small unheard of developers to make those. Mm-hmm. So I could see them using somebody like that again.
Should be interesting. Dude, I was just thinking that, man, please don't let this be retro. Please don't let this be retro.
Dude, would you get a trophy for that kick in the nuts? That would be that would be tragic.
Yeah, it would, because I mean, based on what we see in the videos, the software doesn't seem like it's anything like super elaborate. I mean, you're fishing in one, you're playing a piano in another. I mean, this isn't like, you know, heavy stuff. I wouldn't think. I mean, I guess trying to get it to work with cardboard would be an interesting task, but it's
literally heavy stuff as you're working with the cardboard and trying to build stuff.
Yeah, so very, very strange, but a lot of good stuff from Nintendo, regardless, especially with the Switch and the sale. You know, the amount of games, it just continues to grow. I actually picked up Disc Jam the other day on the Switch. Yeah. Fun game to play on the go, man. They got an arcade mode in there now where you actually play against AI based on other players that actually play the game, like real life players.
Oh,
and
really?
I hopped in there and did arcade mode, and it was challenging. And I was expecting it just to be some dumbed down stuff. There's some challenges in there in the arcade mode. It's actually really cool, and you could rank up your character in the season ranks playing against the arcade. It's actually very, very cool stuff. So, and I believe that's available on all the platforms. It's on everything with this big update that came to Disc Jam. But man, what an awesome game! Leaderboards in that game now. We got stats, all that jazz. Disc Jam has evolved greatly since when we first played it.
Yeah, I haven't checked in with it since we initially played it all those months ago.
Yeah,
it was fun as hell then though.
And it runs great on the Switch. I was really impressed playing it on the go. It runs and looks great on the Switch. Very, very close to what we saw on the PS4. So definitely worth a look, man. Disc Jam is an awesome game.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on from Nintendo, boys. Let's talk some Destiny 2. We've got some more updates about Nightfalls and Raids, and we also got some information on what to expect from the Crimson Days.
Dude, we had a juicy update in the this week at Bungie this week. So let's talk about this, because this one focused on something that we've been very, very interested in, and that's Nightfalls. So, from this week at Bungie, Nightfall should be a challenging test that only the bravest Guardians dare face. Fire teams of any size should be able to participate, from organized clan groups to skilled solo players. Players should be able to determine their own challenge level by going slow and steady or fast and wild, with elective modifiers to test the most hardcore veterans. Your final score will separate the best from the rest, and with high risk comes high reward. Each terrible villain that players face should have a very rare and powerful unique item themed to them that tumbles to the ground as they collapse into a pile of bones. Conquering Nightfall should be a badge of honor, with the best players able to show off their achievements with new dynamic emblems and exclusive auras. That's the vision of where we want to take Nightfall, and you'll be seeing the first of this direction in the next patch, with more being added over time. So that's from creative director Christopher Barrett. So that's his vision of Nightfall, which I think is pretty much our visions for what we want Nightfall to be as well. So now let's get into senior design lead Tyson Green. As we are working on new sandbox improvements, we recognize the need for a venue in which those improvements matter more. The weekly Nightfall, especially on the Prestige difficulty, was intended to be such a venue, but the controversial time limit mechanic is a simple pass-fail mechanism. It only acknowledges success as being a clear, or as being you defeated the Nightfall. That's the only thing the only measure of success in the Nightfall currently, with no degrees of success past that. So no competition exists in that space. It turns a lot of people off of Nightfall 2, since it is both difficult and indexes performance solely on speed. So that's Tyson's kind of intro to this. Now let's talk about what's changing with Nightfalls. So Nightfall scoring. I was surprised that they came out and told us about this. Thought it was going to be a few weeks, but we know now what's going on. So Nightfall scoring, we are repositioning strike scoring in Destiny 2 to enable you to achieve something prestigious in the weekly Nightfall, and as a way to amplify difficulty. The new scoring rules are intended to be better at a few specific things. Reward you for engaging in defeated enemies instead of running past them. Avoid overemphasizing specific mechanics like precision kills that highlight certain areas of the sandbox and or punish other areas, so that players are the ones who determine the most effective meta. Reward you for taking on greater challenges up to the limits of your own capabilities, and reward you for doing the above quickly and over the course of a short run versus long slogs over several hours. So this is the design principles that they're looking at with Nightfalls moving forward. And that last one in particular there, Brent, is an interesting one that I think we're gonna see in here that I want to talk to you about. But the updated mechanics look like this. Scoring is team-based and the sum of individual performances. A team should be able to focus on what works best, not feeling put out by who stole whose kill. Second, scoring is primarily driven by kills and secondarily by orb generation. We want you to find what works best for clearing strikes instead of telling you which weapons to use, but we want coordinated use of supers and other team support mechanics to contribute to high scores. We're interested in restoring special point awards based on medals, but we want your input to understand the basic meta first. Third, score bleeds over time. Now we are watching this closely. Score decay can feel bad, but all else being equal, a team that clears faster than another team should score higher. Score decay achieves this in the most transparent fashion. And fourth, scoring cuts off after time thresholds. So at 15 minutes, new points earned are reduced by 50%. At 18 minutes, you stop earning new points, and it's a race to the finish to run and post your score. We want time to matter, see above, but we also want to avoid some of the problems we saw with Prison of Elders, where a high score might involve punishing respawning combatants and yourself for a few hours until the novelty wore off. A good Nightfall clear shouldn't feel like a slog. So Brent, let me come to you on this, man. So this is kind of the framework that we have for Nightfall scoring at this point. What do you think of what you're hearing here? And specifically, it looks like they're still blending in an element of time in this,
yes,
which is something that we were, maybe in the minority of in terms of our fandom with the previous Nightfall, but it's still here in some respects for this one. So I think this sounds like a solid compromise. What do you think?
Yeah, because it's going to force you to still have to get through quickly. You're still going to have to strategize and work out a plan to figure out the best way to do as much damage as possible to clear out as many enemies as possible. I think that's awesome because it also removes what we were talking about earlier, how to, we can get through this by running all the way through. That kind of, I understand that's a strategy for when there's a time limit mechanic. There's still a time limit here, but now you've created a scenario where, okay, guys, we really have to fight through these guys and get these points, defeat these enemies to get our points total up. Yeah, it is. But I do also like the 15 minutes is still coming into play. The time is still there. You don't want your points to be reduced at half. You want to earn these points, max out the points, because the faster you get through, the more enemies you're going to kill, where if you take your time, you're losing points. So I do like that portion of it. That is very interesting. I hope we can still see a timer on the screen, even though it won't end the match. I just like that timer, man. I want to see a timer. But this sounds, like you said, a very good compromise.
Yeah. And, I'd bet that there'll be a timer on the screen. There was a timer in Nightfalls on Destiny 1, so I'd imagine that timer will still be there, ticking down as we're going through this. I mean, just that first blush here, Brent, do you think that now this actually is gonna usher in even more strategy in the Nightfalls with everything that we're hearing here? Now you got to think about not only how fast you're going to do this, but which weapons and orb generation and kills and how you're going to do this. This just became even more strategic, didn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, but that's still stuff that we kind of talked about in the previous we were doing. I mean, there was that one, I can't remember which strike it was, but we went through and we got housed. I mean, we got wrecked early, and we're like, okay,
it was that Savathun song. I think.
Savathun song, and we were like, okay, I'm gonna bring this for the knights because we need something with blue shields, then we need something for purple shields, and we did a lot of strategizing, but this is going to be even more important because we have to kill everything. We have to kill everything, so we're gonna have to really focus on each area and figure out who is going to be needed the most. What weapons are going to be most important here. It's going to get down to the nitty gritty now based on this, and that's awesome. That's what I want. I want the Nightfall to not be something you can just jump into and run through. I mean, you could try, I guess, but you're kind of you're kind of contradicting the point of it that if you do that. This sounds way more deep. This actually sounds very, very deep, and I'm actually very curious to check this out now.
Yeah. Bender, I know you have a love-hate relationship with the timer. You're not the biggest fan of it. What you're hearing now, though, with what they're doing with the Nightfalls moving forward, what's your take on this, man? Do you think this is a good mixture of the old and the new? And does this sound like a new, exciting way to play Nightfalls moving forward?
Yeah, I think they did a good job of coming up with striking a good compromise between the timing, the time mechanic, and the old way. Because you still have that sense of urgency because you're still trying to complete it fast, but you're not gonna come up empty-handed if you don't get it within a certain amount of time.
You're not gonna get zapped back to orbit once the timer clocks out.
So yeah, you'll still get the points and the rewards and stuff, but maybe you would have gotten better rewards if you had done it a little bit faster. So that does still encourage you to try to get it done as quickly as you can, and it does add that strategy. I like that it's talking about coordinating your use of supers.
Yes.
I mean, you might need to take in different elements of supers depending on what we're facing, and kind of be like, okay, I'm going to make some orbs here, and then Boyce, you go and use your super and make some orbs, and then Brent, we have to kind of switch off or something.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun to kind of figure out new ways to do the strikes with the supers and the weapons and everything. But overall, I think they did a good job of coming up with something that's going to be hopefully satisfactory for for everyone.
I think it's also going to put more focus on, you're not going to be so careless with your supers. I mean, I'm not saying that we're always careless, but I mean, there's times where I'll be running around, like I got a golden gun, there's a couple guys here, and I'll pop it just to shoot the wall and just, and kill one guy, but I just wasted my super. You're going to be extra careful about when you're going to use your super. You're going to evaluate situations closely to figure out, is this really an opportune time to use this? Is this the best time to use my super? And you're going to have to seriously think about the entire strike. Which areas are going to be the most difficult where we're going to really need our supers, and which supers do we need? Are we going to need the tether? Are we going to need the warlock to take out a large group of ads? We're going to have to look at every section with a more strategic view, and that is incredibly appealing. And that's what makes the Nightfall. That's what separates the Nightfall from everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when it comes down to it, after we look at these updated mechanics here, I mean, we're just layering like extra strategy on top of extra strategy now. So whereas the previous mechanic was strictly focused on time and the best thing that we would do to clear the level based on the time mechanic, now we still have that, but we're thinking about 2 or 3 other things as well. So yeah, so really like what I'm hearing from that here, but it gets better from there.
Yes.
So we talked about challenge cards on the roadmap. We were like, what is that? Like, what is a Nightfall challenge card? Well, we know what it is now. So challenge. So on top of the above mechanics are challenge cards, items that offer ways to boost the challenge in exchange for score multipliers. In 1.1.3, which is the next update, which is coming out at the end of February, there will be a challenge card that drops from completing a Nightfall run. It has some customization options to help tune the challenge level to what you and your fire team are capable of. So in this example here, they have an example of what a Nightfall challenge card looks like. So it says, when present in your inventory, this enables modifiers in Nightfall strikes on prestige difficulty. More challenging modifiers will apply larger score multipliers. So with this particular card here, the score multiplier is 2.15 times, and the power handicap is 10. And it reads as follows. If your entire fire team falls in a restricted zone where you can't respawn, everyone will be returned to orbit. Ooh. And solar damage increases slightly from all sources. So basically solar burn and a team wipe if you die in a restricted area, which is a very Destiny 1 Nightfall setup, right? Yeah, so rewards. Players will be able to see their and your scores on new Nightfall emblems available as drops in each Nightfall strike. These emblems and others like them are now the source of auras, which are automatically enabled if your personal score is above a global threshold. At first, the thresholds will be set based on what we think might be tough for players to reach, but we look forward to you showing us how much we underestimated you. Then we can raise the bar based on community scores. So they show the emblem for completing the inverted spire here, and they have a personal best score highlighted as 45,777, and the bonus threshold is 300,000. And they show like the aura that you get when you're wearing that one. So along with the aura, a personal score over the threshold will also unlock a fire team wide buff that boosts Vanguard token drops in that strike by 25%. When your fire team sees the Nightfall aura on your head, they know who's hooking them up. Lastly, some rarer variants of these Nightfall emblems will be available as drops at higher score thresholds. Obtaining these rewards is meant to be challenging, so we don't expect everyone to reach these scores or collect these items. Update 1.1.3 will have a first pass on this feature. Before we call it a competitive activity, we need your help pushing the limits and finding where it breaks. Future updates will react to your input, as well as add more rewards and recognition to posting competitive scores. We also hope to extend the challenge cards to support more difficulty customization and deepen the scoring options. All of the feedback you give us in this release will go into making our upcoming releases better. Thank you in advance. So Brent, what's your thought on challenge cards, man?
The challenge cards sound awesome. And this is going to make it even more difficult, and I love that. That's what I want from the Nightfall. I want this to be the premium endgame experience. That is awesome. The one thing I like about this, though, also is these emblems. Now you have to make sure you have the proper emblem attached, because this mentions here the inverted spire. When we look at this at the bottom, it says increased Vanguard token drops for your fire team in this strike. You have to have that emblem on. So now all of a sudden you got to manage your emblems. That's cool. That's something else that you have to go in and swap these out. They give you perks. You've now made emblems even more valuable and more important on a game-to-game basis.
Yeah. So Bender, looks like we're going to have to get into these prestige Nightfalls now, man. What do you think about what we're hearing from challenge cards? Is this a nice addition as well?
Yeah, that sounds really cool. You can kind of customize the Nightfall to how challenging you want it to be, and converse, and related how rewarding you want it to be as well. So I mean, the more challenge, the more rewards, obviously. I think it's cool that you can kind of swap out some of the modifiers, and see if you want solar burn on, you can turn it on. If you don't, you can turn it off and make it easier, or whatever you want to do. Like Brent was saying, I like the idea of the emblems being useful and having to swap them out to do the specific strike. And I really like the idea of having those auras that are specific to different strikes, and people know if you have that aura that you're over that threshold for that scoring, and that means you're doing pretty well. So I think that's cool to have that to show off and everything, and that's really going to make these things more fun and more rewarding.
Yeah. So lots of good additions with the Nightfall here. Still got more Nightfall stuff to talk about. So here's what we can expect from the new Nightfall modifiers in the Prestige mode. So this is John Favreau, one of the designers on Destiny 2. The current Nightfall climate encourages play that pushes players through the encounters as fast as possible, focusing on extending bonus timers and skipping encounters unless they are required, which was more stressful than fun. Bender, you'll back that up. With Nightfall strike scoring, we were looking to give players a little more control, allowing them to modify their experiences to provide them the challenge they want and incentivize more methodical progression through the activities. People like big numbers, and the best way to get big numbers is to kill everything. We've been listening to the community's feedback, and this is our first step in making a few improvements. We hope you'll put some time in and let us know how you feel. So, the modifiers will apply to your score in the Prestige Nightfall. It isn't all more, though. There are plenty of ways to lose points. There's an ever-present score bleed to apply pressure to keep you moving, and a timer that will reduce your multiplier if you take too long. Here are the current modifiers we're going to ship in this first iteration. Void, Solar, Arc, Singe, which these are basically the return of Void, Solar, Arc Burn. Currently provides a plus 25% increase to player and enemy damage of the corresponding element. Extinguish, fire team wipes, return the team to orbit. So we talked about that one. And then power modifier, voluntarily decrease your power to gain a score bonus. Oh. That one's pretty intense. These are just our initial modifier offerings. This release is focusing more on how the system as a whole feels, so we can get feedback on the core experiences to fine-tune it before we dive headfirst into creating additional modifiers. So there you have it. If you still enjoy the thrill of racing through quickly, you will be rewarded with a higher score. If you prefer to go in solo and take your time, you might lose some points, but you'll still finish the activity and collect a reward. You can complete the normal Nightfall and get a score, or you can take on the Prestige Nightfall and ratchet up your score with some modifiers. We're eager to see you jump into the new Nightfall and give us feedback on these changes. Bender, how about those modifiers, man? Is this the kind of stuff you want to see return to the Nightfall?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's really cool, and I like the idea. Like I said, I like the idea of being able to customize it yourself and turn them off or on, or use the ones that you want to use, and get more rewards for a more difficult experience. So yeah, I think that's a really cool idea, and I look forward to that. And I look forward to seeing what other modifiers they come out with in the future.
Yeah, I like that this is just kind of the first run, and they've got more they're cooking up that they're going to release in the near future here. Brent, you ready to see the return of like Solar, Arc, and Void Burn?
Yeah, those are some nice things from Destiny 1 that they're bringing back, and I dig that. But man, this power modifier, voluntary decrease your power to gain a score bonus. Yeah, that's awesome. That sounds really, really good. I really like that. But yeah, I like these modifiers. I like that these are the initial run, the initial ones that we'll see at the launch. But I'll be curious to see what other ones they add to it. But this whole thing sounds much better. It'll be a lot more appealing, and it's going to require a lot more team working and strategizing, and that's all I really want from a Nightfall, man.
Yeah, so overall, from what we're hearing for what they're looking to do with the Nightfalls, is this like the path that we want to see them go? Do you feel better now about where they're going with this than maybe before when we simply just knew they were taking away the time limit? Do you feel better now that we know like where they're going with this?
Yes, it's still like Bender mentioned, it still creates a sense of urgency. We're still going to have to make our way through quickly but methodically, kill everything in sight to get all the points we need, and hit the finish line before time runs out.
Yeah, I just think they, like Bender talked about, they just kind of melded everything together, and this makes a whole lot of sense. So kudos to them for that. It sounds awesome. Now, we've got some other cool stuff to talk about, and that's with raids. Now, this sounds sweet, man. But this is another one of the designers, Joe Blackburn. Hey Guardians, for Destiny 2, we wanted to release raid content on a more regular cadence than we did during the first years of Destiny. In our original estimation of this work, we knew we would have to focus on normal modes, forgoing layer challenge modes, and having their prestige modes rely on enemies that are more lethal and harder to kill. As we got closer to releasing Prestige Eater of Worlds, and this all came because in the roadmap, Prestige Eater of Worlds, which is the Prestige raid layer, is not until May. So the community's like, what the hell is taking so long? Like, why is this not coming out till May? It's like 5 months. As we got closer to releasing Prestige Eater of Worlds, we knew we wanted to do something more. Over the past few months, we have been prototyping a new way of adding difficulty and replayability to raid activities. Today, I'm happy to announce that we have decided to push this feature forward and release it for all the Leviathan raid content with the release of Expansion 2.
Oh.
Going forward, all raids will have a normal mode active at all times, and each week, one raid or raid layer will have a curated loadout mode. Now, this sounds sweet. This new version of Prestige requires players to complete raids filled with deadly enemies using a curated loadout of weapons and a special modifier that enhances the way you play. The raid team never likes to let you know exactly what to expect, but let's look at some hypothetical examples. These are not the plan of record, but they give you a basic idea of what you might find. So in this example, week 1, the raid activity is Eater of Worlds. The modifier is Marksman. Precision damage is increased. Landing a precision shot grants 1 ammo directly to the magazine. The required loadout: a kinetic hand cannon, an energy scout rifle, and a linear fusion power weapon. Week 2, the raid activity is the Expansion 2 raid layer. Gladiator is the modifier. Your melee damage is increased, and melee kills grant bonus super. The required loadout: a kinetic sidearm, an energy submachine gun, and a power shotgun. Week 3.
Worst loadout ever.
Yeah, that sounds tough. Week 3, the raid activity Eater of Worlds. Modifier is Conduit. Each kill you get before reloading or swapping weapons gives you increasingly more ability energy. Interesting. And the required loadout: a kinetic auto rifle, Risk Runner in the energy slot, and a power grenade launcher. We should also note that while Eater of Worlds is not getting any specific encounter changes, all the previous prestige changes in Leviathan will be active when players engage in this new loadout difficulty. The goal of the new prestige mode is simple: provide new ways to engage with raid content each week, new ways to engage with different weapons in your vault, and new rewards to chase. This is currently slotted on the roadmap for May, but this is a major overhaul and could be pushed out further. We'll keep you updated. We can't wait for you to play it, talk about it, and help us make it better for years to come. So, Brent, what do you think about this idea, man? With this required loadout and the specific modifiers, I think this sounds badass, man.
I love the modifiers. I think that stuff sounds really, really cool. The required loadout, like Bender mentioned, there's going to be some weapons in there you're not going to like, but damn it, you're going to have to learn it. And I think that's going to benefit the community as a whole. If you're forced to like learn these different weapons that you may not like or may not be very good with, but it's going to just make everyone better. And you might learn a couple things about these guns, man. And these marksmen, the precision damage, like the modifier here, if it's like the scout rifle, you're going to do well with that. You can aim with down the side, single shots, you're more accurate, you can get those precision shots. Same with hand cannons, up close, precision shots. So a lot of these could go hand in hand, but you're going to be forced to learn and get better with these guns, and I don't mind doing that, even though, like Bender said, the sidearm submachine gun combo, I love shotguns, so I'd be running with that thing like crazy as long as there was enough power ammo, but yeah, there's going to be
those
some
are all
of these.
like those are all short range weapons, so you'd have like no range whatsoever.
Yeah,
and this is all hypothetical. Once again, this is not exactly the way it would play out. So, but this is just a hypothetical setting. I love this idea though. I love the idea of taking this raid content that people do over and over every single week and giving you a different way to tweak it and a different way to earn rewards and a different way to tackle the challenge. But I love even down here when they say like you have to use a risk runner. Like, that's an interesting take on it too. Like so, it sounds like sometimes they're going to tell you have to use a specific weapon when you're doing this activity. So I just think this sounds really cool. What do you think of this, Bender?
Well, despite my objections to that one loadout, I kind of do like the idea of having a required loadout. Yeah. Because so many times I go into a raid or a Nightfall or something and just like, oh, what weapons am I going to bring? I don't know. I'll just try something out. I mean, I kind of like the idea of not having to think about that and be just like, okay, I'm going to have to make this work. Whatever they give me, I'm going to have to work with it and work it out and all that. And I like the idea of having the modifiers as well. Sounds like some of these could be pretty cool. So I think it'll be a good way to keep the raid interesting, make it different every week, and you'll want to go back and replay it every week and get the rewards and everything as well, but also just have a chance to have a different experience each time that you play it. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so some good stuff from Bungie this week regarding the Nightfalls, regarding raids. I can't wait to see this stuff in action. Really, really excited about the Nightfall changes. Really just amped to get in there with you guys and tackle the stuff and see how it goes with this new scoring system. But really like what I read from those guys this week. And also on Tuesday the Crimson Days event starts. So this is the Bungie like Valentine's Day event where the new the 2v2 Crucible playlist comes into play. And first and foremost, it sounds like they've learned a lot from the Dawning with Crimson Days. So this is not going to be as Eververse heavy as that event was. All of the rewards for the Crimson Days are on a knockout list, so you won't be getting duplicates for any of this stuff until you've amassed everything that the event has to offer. Every time you level up, you're going to get a Crimson Days engram along with an illuminated engram. So you're constantly going to get rewards for whatever activity it is that you're doing. Obviously, you'll get rewards from doing the Crimson Days playlist, and the Crimson Days milestones. That'll be a source of the engrams as well. But you won't be able to purchase the engram from Eververse, so that's awesome. The only way you can earn this stuff is through gameplay, and like I said, you'll be able to do whatever you want. So this already sounds like a marked improvement over what the Dawning had to offer, and I really like this too. So in this 2v2 thing, they're coming. It's basically Clash, but it's got a round-based twist. So with Crimson Days, they're going to be debuting the Burnout, which is a new take on the Burning Shrine. If you guys remember that map from Destiny 1, a very, very popular map. It took place on Mercury. A lot of trials and Crucible stuff took place on that map. It was a really cool map. So it's a new take on the Burning Shrine in a future timeline where the Vex have succeeded in altering our reality. So in this one, it's basically this is the dark future with the Vex where the sun has been extinguished. The sun is darkened and the only light to be found comes from you and your partner fighting as one. Stay in close proximity to your partner and your abilities recharge at a faster rate. Stray too far and your enemies will be given a waypoint leading to your location. Wow. If you can't find a partner, don't worry, we'll make you and find you one. What do you think of this, Brent? Is this sounds like a cool twist on the 2v2 doubles formula that we had in Destiny 1.
Dude, I can't tell you how many times I've been killed in the Crucible where I come running around the corner by myself and there's like 3 or 4 people there. I'm just like, damn it, these guys are rolling as a squad. Now we have to do that.
Yeah.
We're really going to have to do it because you're going to give away your position. And while they're all together, their abilities are going to be recharging faster. So you're going to have grenades. You're going to have all the other abilities ready to go. So we're going to have to really work together. And I think what that's going to do in the long run is it's going to make you better in regular Crucible. If you're learning to stay together, know where your team is, know where your partner is, know where your squad is, and so you're always rolling as a pack, that's going to make you much better in Crucible, just regular Crucible outside of Crimson Days. So I think that's a really cool feature to have. Plus, it gives you perks to stay together, but it's going to make us all better players in the Crucible going forward.
It sounds pretty intense, dude. It sounds like not only when you stray away, your energy doesn't get faster, but it sounds like it might even be darker for you, and a waypoint shows up on the map to show you to show the enemies where you're at. So that's if that's not incentive to stay together, I don't know what is. But it's going to be interesting though, because there's going to be people that are gonna push that. They're going to be like, look, like these guys are going to stay together. They're going to charge their super, and I understand the benefit, the downside to if we split up, but I have an idea. Like, I can run around and flank these guys. Let's see if we can do it. Like, there's going to be people that are going to try to do those kind of things. It's going to make for some interesting matches. What do you think about this idea, Bender? What do you think about the return of the Burning Shrine in its new format?
I think it's cool to be able to visit that map again. It sounds like they're making some interesting changes to the Crimson Days, but I don't know how much I'll get into it because Crimson Days is such a PvP focused event.
Yeah, that's really all it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really all it is. So I don't know how much I'll play it, but it looks like it's going to be pretty interesting, though.
Yeah, even though it is a PvP event and it's focused around that new 2v2 game mode. The nice thing that they've done with this is they've made it so that every time you level up with whatever activity you're doing, you're going to get a Crimson Engram. And those engrams, are going to have the ghosts and the sparrows and some of the cool looking stuff that's in there. So basically, whatever you're doing, you're going to have access to that stuff that's available with Crimson Days. So if you don't want to get in there and you don't want to play the Crucible, you don't want to do PvP stuff, you can do the other stuff that you normally do. Level up, earn those engrams. You're going to get several Crimson engrams over the course of the event, and hopefully get the emote or whatever it is that you're looking for.
Oh, okay. That's a cool idea. I like that.
Yeah. So Brent, that's going to do it for Destiny 2, man. Some good stuff this week.
Indeed. I'm really excited. I'll be doing the PvP stuff. That's the one thing I've really found myself doing a lot more of this time around compared to Destiny 1. I'm all over the Crucible. I'm all over the Iron Banner. And I'm really excited to hop in here. And I'll do this. I'll be your partner, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
I'll roll with you side by side so they can't see where we're at.
We'll share our light.
Yeah, we'll share our deaths together because we'll still probably get wrecked. But
yeah,
really excited to check that out. So that'll be good. That'll be starting this week. We'll be streaming that on Wednesday night as usual with the Destiny stream. So make sure you tune in and watch us get wrecked as usual. All right, and the last bit of news we're going to talk about here is some Kingdom Hearts 3 news. We got a new trailer and a Monsters, Inc. world. Square Enix released a trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3 at the D23 Expo in Japan, showing off a new Monsters, Inc. inspired world and new gameplay. The publisher also offered a preview of brand new Kingdom Hearts 3 music from singer Hikaru Utada. I probably butchered that name. I apologize. Kingdom Hearts 3's journey to the world of Monsters, Inc. means a fresh, furry look for our heroes. Sora, Donald, and Goofy. There's also more footage of Sora teaming up with the Toy Story crew, as well as appearances from Rapunzel and Flynn Rider from Tangled, and Ariel from The Little Mermaid, who shows up as a summon. Kingdom Heart regulars like Riku, Vanitas, and Marluxa also pop up. So, boys, did you get a chance to watch this trailer?
I did.
Thoughts?
This trailer's awesome. It obviously confirms the long-rumored Monsters, Inc. world. So not only do we get a Toy Story world in Kingdom Hearts 3, but we get a Monsters, Inc. world as well. So Pixar coming out in full force. Like I mentioned, we saw the Little Mermaid in there. I mean, the trailer's sweet. It's got lots of really cool looking action. I love the Monsters, Inc. setting. Like they're in the factory and they're climbing on the doors and all that kind of stuff. Like all the stuff from the movie was cool to see. We saw more from the Toy Story crew. They were in this trailer as well. So yeah, and they doubled down on that 2018 release date. Like at the end of this trailer, they once again said coming 2018. And from what it sounds like, we may get a release date maybe in or around E3. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like this is shaping up to be a holiday 2018 title, barring any future delays. So this is gonna be a big one this fall, man.
Yeah, they got 100 studio members working on this game right now, so there's a lot of people working on it. Bender, I see you nodding your head a few moments ago. What'd you think of this trailer? Are you excited for Kingdom Hearts 3?
Yeah, the more I see of this game, the more excited I get. I think it looks awesome. I've never really gotten into the Kingdom Hearts franchise. I did buy the remastered PS4 version of 1 and 2, so I need to go in and play those before this comes out. But just the game, the graphics look amazing. I really like the worlds they've shown off. We got to see Mike Wazowski and Sully and all the Monsters Inc. characters. I think that's awesome. the monster version of Goofy looks kind of creepy, but whatever. But yeah, the more I see this game, it looks awesome. The combat looks really fast paced and cool, and everything I've seen of it I've really been impressed by it. So I'm definitely looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I've never played a Kingdom Hearts game. I know it's got a rabid fan base. It's always something I've kind of looked at from afar and been curious about. I don't know if this is something I would get into or not, but I might have to give it a look, dude. Just because I know he likes to come down and watch me play games, and obviously I can't be playing World War II in front of him. So finding something else that he might be able to watch and just enjoy it and not give him nightmares, Kingdom Hearts 3 might be a better choice there. So. But this trailer looks sweet, and like you mentioned, we might be getting a release date sometime at E3 or possibly beforehand. And when that happens, man, the world's going to light ablaze because everyone wants to know when this is coming out, and it sounds like 2018 is a safe bet, boys.
Yeah, like I said, they doubled down on it once again at the end of this trailer. They said coming 2018, so they're gearing up. Game looks very, very good in the trailers we've seen. Looks pretty polished. It looked good last year when we saw the Toy Story trailer. It looked good this year when we saw the Monsters Inc. trailer. So I think they're getting close here, man. And we're gonna have a fall potentially that has Kingdom Hearts 3 and Red Dead Redemption 2, in addition to the next Call of Duty and Battlefield and whatever else is coming out. So looks like it's gonna be a big time fall once again.
Yeah, can't wait. My wallet can't wait either. My wallet's not gonna survive this week. Why are we talking about fall?
Yeah, seriously.
But, that's going to do it for the show this week. One quick shout out to Miguel B. I don't have his last name, but Miguel won our contest for a copy of Shadow of War, the gold edition for Xbox One. We had over 100 people that put in for this. Thank you very much for jumping in and participating. We'll have another big giveaway next month. We're not going to talk about it just yet, but we'll have another one in March. Can't wait to announce that one. But thanks to everyone that participated, that subscribed to our YouTube channels, our Twitch channels, on SoundCloud. Make sure you listen to the content. We want to hear from you. We need your feedback. That's the only way the show is going to evolve, is if we hear from you. You're the reason we do this. You might as well have the input and give and have a say in how this show is going to be produced. So we want to hear from you. But gentlemen, where can we find you gaming and tweeting? Mr. Boyce.
As always, Brent, I'll be not tweeting at Piccolo930. That's where you can find me on PSN and on Xbox. You can find me on Nintendo as well. Friendly reminder, Tuesday Night Indie Spotlight is 10 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel every Tuesday. So make sure you come on over there, like the videos, get in the comments, subscribe to the channel so that you never miss an episode. We'll be featuring Owlboy this Tuesday at 10 p.m. Brent, you'll be in there with me. It'll be a good time, so hopefully we'll see you guys there.
Bender?
You can find me on Twitter at Bender_guitar, on PlayStation Network and Nintendo Network at me_Bender, and on Xbox Live at meBender82.
Awesome. You can find me on Xbox Live, The Real Dude 79, PlayStation Network, Nintendo Switch, The Dude 79, and on Twitter at The Dude 1979. Make sure you visit the website, www.shortpause.com. Follow us on Twitter at The Short Pause. You can listen to this podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, and Stitcher. If you like this podcast, if you really, really like it, go over to iTunes, give us a nice big 5-star rating, and write out a nice review. If you're not quite ready to give us that 5-star review, that's cool. We want to earn it, but we have to hear from you. Podcast at shortpause.com. In the comments of this podcast post or right here in the YouTube chat. We want to hear from you. Like I said, your feedback is invaluable. We want to give back to you guys and girls, but we need to hear from you so we know what to do to make this show better, to make it more enjoyable for you, so you never want to miss it every single week. If you don't want to listen to the podcast and you want to watch it, you can watch it right here on YouTube. You can also watch it on our Twitch channel and on our Facebook page. All of those, Short Pause Gaming. For Mr. Boyce, for Mr. Holt, I'm Brent Felsing. Thank you again for listening and watching the Short Pause Gaming podcast. We'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.